Okay.
You're done.
Great.
You're next.
Yeah.
All right, good evening. We're going to get started. The recording has started for this evening. Welcome to the July 16th meeting of the Sustainability and Climate Commission. For the record, this is Vivian Satterfield. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the Chief Sustainability Officer here at the City of Portland. Thank you for joining. There's a lot of folks here in person. It's always wonderful to see all of you both joining virtually and in person as your schedules allow, but I do enjoy seeing you all here in person when you are able to make it. So thank you for making that extra effort. I know that coming in person also means that you're dealing with some of the city technology and systems. We are using a different format of Zoom this evening because we do have breakout sessions. So please do utilize the technical support of Wayne Grabowski, who's in the room, who can help you. And then Elaine Bieska-Livingstone as staff is also going to be helping navigate some of the online components as well. As always, we appreciate your patience in navigating this hybrid environment as it is ever changing and always challenging for all of us. I also want to acknowledge that we do have some staff sitting in the audience. We do have public comment here today as well. This evening, dinner will be arriving a bit after our meeting start, but if you read your high five email from Elaine, you'll know that we're trying a new restaurant. So hopefully that's something that you were looking forward to. We're mixing it up a little bit, and that should be arriving here in a bit, and then we'll be able to utilize our break so that everyone can have a dinner break. From here, I'll go ahead and hand it over to Co-Chair Jose.
Thank you, CSO Vivian. Again, my name is Jose Gamero-Georgeson, he, him, el pronouns. First of all, I want to welcome and acknowledge our new co-chair, Alma, who will be helping facilitate this meeting. And it's her first facilitation, so be nice. Next slide, please. Here's the meeting agenda. Just a little bit of a summary. We're gonna have a follow-up here briefing on the CAP work plan from staff, and then we're gonna break up and get into small groups by district and come up with a plan to reach out to our city council district representation, staff, city councilors with a draft of the CAP work plan. That's all posted on the event page. And next slide, please. And we're gonna start with, like always, the regular meeting introductions and reminders, but for that, I'll pass it off to our co-chair, Co-Chair Alma. Take it away.
Scratching a little bit. Thank you. Okay, so we're gonna start with reviewing notes about the meeting and our working agreements like usual. Next slide, please. Next slide again. All right. So first, we use Zoom for a public meeting and facilitation tool. Today we're going to be doing breakout rooms, which is a little bit differently. Hopefully everybody has their title in their Zoom name. And we appreciate everyone working with the technical issues. So please state your name every time you speak. We will have 2 public comments today, and I'll call on those individuals in a moment when that time comes. All of the materials for this meeting are posted online, and Elaine will send the link in the chat. And then Wing is here for any technical support. Next slide, please. All right, can we have someone volunteer to read aloud the bolded sections of our working agreements? Commissioner Maya.
Commissioner Maya, you two, speak with clarity and focus. Wait, why am I talking? Assume good intentions, but attend to impact. Be willing to make mistakes and be forgiving of those who do. Allow for and appreciate disagreement of opinions, ideas, methods respectfully. Build on other people's ideas. We value participation both in person and virtual.
Thank you, Commissioner Maya. All right. next is our public comment. Okay, we have 2 individuals signed up for public comment. We'll have approximately 2 minutes per person. I'll set a timer and let them know if their time is up. Okay, so when I call on you, Elaine will give you permission on Zoom to speak and then remove your permission when you're done. And first, we have Adam Rack giving public comment.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Good afternoon, commissioners. My name is Adam Rack. I'm here today as a co-founder of a reusable bottle program called Revino, a founding member of the Reusable Portland Coalition and the Reusable Bottle Alliance. I also serve on the Recycling Modernization Act Rulemaking Committee. And the fight for sustainable packaging has been a core to my life. I'm here to urge this commission to formally adopt reuse as a core focus area and advocate for its integration into the city's future climate policies and PSEF initiatives. Currently, the city's climate roadmaps treat reuse as a minor player, but when we look beyond carbon, the true environmental and human impacts of our single-use economy are staggering, relying on toxic extraction, manufacturing, recycling, and waste processing. These facilities are disproportionately located in and harm disadvantaged and frontline communities. Prioritizing reuse is not just a waste reduction strategy, it's a direct act of environmental justice for the Portlanders most impacted by industrial pollution, while offering 7 to 9 times more green jobs, than single-use or recycling models. It's also an economic stabilizer as single-use packaging costs continue to skyrocket. We already know this works because Portland is a national leader in reuse innovation. Look at Bold Reuse's RIP City Reuse program at the Moda Center, which has avoided over 800,000 single-use cups. And an independent study recently proved these reusables generate 74% less carbon than compostable cups under real operating conditions. At the Portland Reuse Summit we hosted late last year, we brought together the DEQ, BPS, and dozens of businesses, and the message was clear. The appetite for change is here, but the infrastructure is lagging. Crucially, a focus on day-to-day reuse that most citizens interact with is what is missing from the priority list. To normalize reuse across the entire economy, especially with things that don't happen often, like furniture and appliance repair, we must start with day-to-day actions and day-to-day reuse. You have the expertise on this commission representing waste reduction, climate justice, and utility leaders to champion this shift. And because the commission's operations are directly tied to the city's priorities, you're uniquely positioned to advocate for directing those resources to build the shared hubs, logistics networks, and infrastructure we need to scale reuse. Let's make Portland a global model for a waste-free, equitable future. Thank you for your time, and thank you for all your work you're doing as well.
Thank you for your comment. Just as a reminder, we can't respond to comments right now. And the second person we have for public comment is in person, Jennifer Redmond, and we should have a microphone for you.
Okay, hello. My name is Jennifer Redmond. I'm the president of Community Broadband PDX and a longtime resident of Northeast Portland. Thank you to the co-chairs and commission members for the opportunity to provide public comment today. I'm here today to urge the commission to integrate publicly owned broadband infrastructure throughout the next iteration of the Climate Action Plan. Broadband is a fast connection to the internet. A fast, affordable, and fairly provisioned connection to the internet accessible to every Portlander is an essential component in building a sustainable and climate change resilient city. According to the US Census Bureau data, in Portland today, approximately 18,000 households do not have a fast internet connection. That number does not include households that rely on cellular service alone or slow second-tier income-based connections provided by Xfinity Essentials. At a recent community broadband PDX outreach meetup at the Albina Library, I spoke to several Portlanders who were visiting the branch from St. John's to use the internet. I asked them why they did not have internet service at home. Cost was the primary reason. A friend who teaches math at David Douglas High School recently told me that too many of her students entered high school with a 3rd grade level of math competence. They don't know how to add, subtract, or multiply. When I asked about internet connections at home, many don't have internet access in their homes. In 2009, Chattanooga, Tennessee built a publicly owned fiber broadband network reaching every home on the electrical grid with the installation of smart meters. In 2020, during the COVID lockdown, Chattanooga was able to immediately provide 18,000 children in the city on free and reduced lunch plans free access to internet service. Portland was originally ahead of the rest of urban centers and publicly owned broadband networks when in 2000, the city council under the leadership of Mayor Vera Katz created the Integrated Regional Network Enterprise, or ERNINET. ERNINET is a publicly owned fiber network that connects municipal, educational, and other anchor institutions. Let's leverage that existing asset and use it to connect neighborhoods and households with a fast, affordable internet service that is delivered at cost. As you begin to craft the new climate action plan, I urge you to think about how internet access shapes the city's adaptation and resiliency. Access to energy and renewables, smart and microgrids rely on a fast internet connection. An environmentally just and equitable city means that everyone has access to learning how to join a green workforce. The single parent working 2 minimum wage jobs to care for her family does not have the time to travel to the library during open hours to take online classes to prepare for a better career. She may be prioritizing to feed her family over the cost of home internet access. Youth empowerment means equitable access to education. A fast publicly owned broadband connection available to every home must be integrated into any plan to create a sustainable city. Thank you.
Thank you for your public comment. For the next slide, I'm going to turn it back over to Jose.
Thank you. Now on to commission updates. Next slide, please. We have a few commission updates as always. We want to just make sure we always keep the knowledge that you guys have up to date. So first, I'd like to invite back Chief Sustainability Officer Vivian Satterfield to give us her CSO report. And if I'll facilitate if there's any questions or comments.
Thank you, Co-Chair Jose. CSO Vivian back on the mic. My report is fairly brief for this July meeting. First of all, PNW Climate Week has been happening. There's been so many amazing events happening across the entire region. Our colleagues in the city of Seattle helped kick it off. But there's activities happening in all various cities. I know I've attended a few events. I hope that some of you have been connected into some of them as well. And so I just want to encourage people that there are so many folks who are talking about climate in meaningful and different ways and all working towards solutions. And so that's been giving me hope and making me inspired, and also quite interesting as I'm learning things that I may not have a depth of awareness by attending these events. Another thing I wanted to mention is that I'll be a part of an official City of Portland delegation to visit the Confederated Tribes of the Grand Ronde tomorrow. And so the purpose of the visit is to reacquaint and reinitiate this government to government relationship. I am attending in order to hear more deeply and to understand the concerns of the Confederated Tribes as it pertains to natural resources, climate, and sustainability issues. It is not meant to be anything other than an introductory and learning opportunity, but if anything comes from that, that will be for your awareness, I will be sure to bring that up. And lastly, if you all are available, there is so many amazing things happening in the city of Portland on Sunday, including a Biketown e-bike ride that's trying to set a Guinness World Book of Records for e-bikes. So if you have an e-bike, if you're an e-bike fan, you can also jump on a Biketown and join in that record-breaking attempt. I hear that Seattle is the city that currently holds that title, and so that's extra encouragement. And then afterwards, we'll be starting and ending at Salmon Springs Fountain, and that's a great way to just kick off Pride, which is also happening on Sunday. So if you don't have Sunday sorted out for yourself, those are two excellent suggestions for staying in town. And that's all I have for this month, Co-Chair Jose.
Thank you, Vivian. Again, Co-Chair Mayor Georgeson. Before I go on to my updates, first I want to apologize because my Zoom camera doesn't work. And I did want to go over some of the things just to clear up so that we'll make sure that people are on Zoom. We need to make sure we're on Zoom because there's a Zoom provides a lot of things we can do, like there's different tools. So we need to make sure everyone is on Zoom. So for raising hands to speak, so it's easier to keep track of a meeting, recording, for the chat, etc. So if you have any tech issues like I'm having, I think mine's fine, it's just the camera, but if you have any tech issues, as always, Wing is around. Because this meeting, sometimes it's easy and sometimes it gets really complex. So having us all on one platform really helps that. So appreciate everyone for doing that. Now on to my commission updates. We had our executive team meeting and we had an onboarding of Co-Chair Alma. The setting for the agendas for the next 2 months is prepared. It's mostly getting us ready for the work plan, for the CAP work plan. And what's coming up in August, we're gonna have critical energy infrastructure hub policy project, the CI hub policy project informational briefing only. We don't really have a role in that. It's a zoning thing, but I'm pretty sure you're all curious, so we're gonna have a informational briefing on it. We're also gonna have a community engagement mapping led by Wing. So look for a form. You'll get a form to fill out via our weekly email to support that work, asking you questions about that. And in September, we're gonna have climate change risk assessment briefing. So that's next 2 months of agendas for you to look forward to. But as always, if you have any questions or any topics or anything, feel free to reach out to either one of us, or you can always, in your feedback form, there's a little thing like, would you like someone to follow up with you? And since you will fill out your feedback form this week, you can put it there. And I will pass it on to a policy committee co-chair, Vivek, to facilitate conversation on that.
Okay, thank you, Co-Chair Jose. I hope you can hear me. I miss seeing you all in person. I'm virtual here, and want to just provide an update for the Policy and Implementation Committee. We met recently on July 7th, and before I get into that, I just want to remind you from our last, it was a month ago, so if and a lot's happening. So just as a reminder, we had narrowed down a whole set of potential policies that the commission would consider. And the committee narrowed that down and brought this to you at the last commission meeting. And those 3 items were the climate and health standard, also formerly known as the HART standard, which I know many of you have been involved with when it was being developed by the city. And second was the cooling corridors. There's another initiative that's underway. And the third was a set of transportation options that were on the table that we'll be getting to in a bit here. Though on July 7th, the focus was really on the first, in part because of the timeliness of what City Council is working on right now. And so on July 7th, we met as a committee and we got a briefing on the climate and health standard from Councillor Avalos in District 1. And the Policy and Implementation Committee was joined by BPS staff Vin Mason, Taryn Evans as the Environmental Justice Director for the Coalition Communities of Color, and Sophia Difty from the Counselor's Office. And we heard from Councillor Avalos about 20 minutes or so on the climate and health standard. And the policy is one of the priorities that, as I mentioned, the committee had identified. So this is a timely piece. It's likely going in front of City Council coming up soon here. So it's this building decarbonization, operational decarbonization component. So today the PIC is bringing a recommendation to the full commission for a vote. And so that's really what I want to, that was context, and this is the vote that I want to put in front of you. And other members of the PIC, if there's anything I missed, please, you'll have a moment at the end here to kind of fill in some components. So just the big question for you all, I think, is what is the policy, this climate and health standard? It has 6 components: energy reporting and carbon performance standards for commercial and multifamily buildings 2,000 square feet and larger, So that's the carbon, energy and carbon piece. Renter information and transparency regarding potential energy costs at time of application. So how much will it cost to be able to live here as a renter from an energy perspective? Anti-displacement protections for tenants, a carbon pollution impact fee as an alternative compliance pathway, and compliance and accountability provisions, including limited exemptions. So there are those 6 component parts. Each of those are pretty rich and lots to definitely get into there. But generally speaking, just kind of touch on some of these. So covered buildings establish a baseline, then reduce emissions 20% below baseline every 5 years starting in 2030. This is reaching a net zero by 2050. This grew out of direct community-led heart standards work with community partners like Verde and Community Energy Project and others. And per BPS, the climate and health standard is essentially the heart standard minus the maximum indoor temperature standard, which Councillor Avalos intends to pursue separately afterwards. So in essence, it's essentially the same thing as the heart standard. Key evidence base for this was about a year-long city pilot that was run by BPS staff Vin Mason, and found that energy reporting takes 3 to 9 hours the first year and then under 2 hours annually after. An Eco Northwest analysis found rent increases are not expected, largely due to the long compliance runway for this. And so that really sets the stage for kind of the policy itself. And then what the PIC did when we heard from Councillor Avalos, the PIC deliberated and discussed what's the unique value that the commission can provide that no one else in the city or other entities could provide. And where we went with that question was really a consensus that we don't want to provide a deep technical review of this policy. That's not the place where we can have the most impact because there's been 8 years of staff engagement with community and a lot of feedback. There's been economic analysis. There's a lot behind this climate and health standard already. And so our value, we came to the consensus, is as an institutional voice and a public advocate, bringing broad community and programmatic perspective on this standard. And so that's where I want to kind of lean into this conversation now with you all in the commission to propose an action and a recommendation. So the PIC voted unanimously that this is an endorsement of the policy as briefed. So it's not a final endorsement to council. We need to go through us, the commission, to do that. The PIC will draft an endorsement package, including any further recommendations or comments. And we'll do that at our August 4th meeting, which is coming up in a couple of weeks here, and then bring that to the full commission for a vote and a final letter August 20th before it goes to Councilor Avalos's office and council. So that's a lot. Take a deep breath. I just downloaded weeks of work there. And so what I think the PIC is coming to you today is a recommendation that we want the commission to vote on, and that the Sustainability and Climate Commission endorses the climate and health standard in concept as presented to the PIC on July 7th, with the PIC to develop endorsement details and recommendations for the commission's final vote on August 20th. So right now what we're doing is representing this in concept, that the ideas of decarbonization, of transparency, of renter rights, that's all acceptable in concept, but the commission discussed, or the committee discussed a lot about, like, what exactly would that mean? We would need a bit more information on that. So we're going to get into that before the August 20th vote that we'll be coming back to you for at our next commission meeting. So What I'd like to do is open a discussion and questions using the speaking queue, prioritize commissioners who haven't spoken, and really see if there are any questions coming up about this particular conceptual the concepts of these 6 component parts that are put in front of you for the climate and health standard. That's a policy that Commissioner Avalos would like to take to full city council later this year, and for us to be able to dig into this in some more detail at our next PIC meeting. So any questions? What I'll eventually want to ask for is if you agree with this proposal, if you want to stand aside, or if you don't agree or have serious concerns. That's really what we're getting to in the vote here in a little bit. But first, opening it up to any questions, feedback, clarifications that you might have. Let me pause here. Yeah, I see. Yeah. Alternative Commissioner Sky, I see your hand up.
Yeah, hey,
Yeah.
alternative Sky Dancy, he, him, District 4. And I think the key comment is conceptually, right? We're not getting into technical details.
Right.
I know that this is related to zero emissions rather than a net zero or another credit program, but this is probably also a good time for me to declare a potential conflict of interest with my employer being a large institution in Portland. So I like the conceptual endorsement.
Okay. Thank you. I see Commissioner Stephanie's hand up.
Hello, Commissioner Stephanie, District 3, she, her pronouns. My question is simple. How does that 20,000 square foot number, where did that come from? Why not 10,000 or 15 or, and then what will govern buildings? Is there an intermediate level that needs some attention as well? But do you as a committee feel that 20,000 square foot is the right kind of cutoff?
We didn't spend much time on that. I'll say just my opinion, my perspective, and maybe there's folks on staff who can say more about this. I know Vin Mason would have a lot to say about this. But my quick take is that we didn't talk about this in the committee meeting. It was kind of presented to us as such. My understanding, just having worked on the commercial energy disclosure program years ago with Vin Mason in my day job at the university, that 20,000 number was present for that specific policy that's underway now and has been for some time. So I guess one of the things is that there's a precedent, but there might be some kind of a threshold discussion that I wasn't present for, and that staff may be able to say something about that I can't get into. I know there is a precedent for it in past policies. Staff, is there anybody? Elaine, CSO Vivian?
Yes, this is CSO Vivian. In the interest of both time, I might, and also to not speak inaccurately, what I'd like to do is collect any of the more detailed questions, and then we can go ahead and respond to those questions after tonight's meeting. Thank you for your patience.
Great, thanks, CSO Vivian. Yeah, we'll come back to that, Commissioner Stephanie. Commissioner Angus, I see your hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Angus Duncan, and I just had a couple of comments. First, I support moving ahead with this, particularly because I don't see anything else on the city's agenda horizon that is going to deal with the issue of building emissions and building energy efficiency. And I hate to go back and start all over again, trying to come up with something new. This seems to be reasonably well thought out. I do think that the question about the 20,000 square foot cutoff, you may have an answer here tonight, but we could also just kick that to Vin. And that would be the most authoritative one. I do know that is the square footage that was the subject of the I think it was Eco Northwest analysis. And so if we wanted to look at something else, we'd have to go back and redo their analysis unless they'd already done it for 10,000 and 30,000. But I would just recommend we kick that question back to Vin and ask him to deliver an answer to the policy committee in August. The one amendment that I would like to discuss at the policy committee meeting in August and hope that, we can move forward with it is that I am concerned about, on the one hand, the long glide path makes it compliance easier. On the other hand, it also makes compliance slower. And I'm not proposing to rejigger the entire thing, but I do think I'd like to suggest as an added recommendation to the city council that it consider some kind of an incentive tool or incentive package for buildings that are subject to this and that achieve compliance in advance of the period of time that is allowed. But that's something we can discuss at the policy committee meeting, and I hope Vin will be there, and we can discuss that with him as well. And with that said, as a policy committee member, I am strongly in favor of the commission, moving ahead with this sooner rather than later. And if August is as soon as we can do it, then we ought to be doing it in August. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Angus. Commissioner Maya, I see your hand up.
Yeah, Commissioner Maya, D2. I have a few technical questions, although I'm not on the policy and implementation committee, but I'd like to have a little bit more context as to why these standards stalled since they've been, or previously stalled since they've been in development for quite a while. Thanks.
Interesting. Yes, right. I don't know, CSO Vivian, Elaine, any staff thoughts on this?
Thank you, Commissioner. I am CSO Vivian. In summary, older form of government, prior form of government received a lot of industry pushback on the concept and chose not to further that while the city was going through a great deal of transition. And so that is my most simplistic answer.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, CSO Vivian. I see Commissioner Damon's hand up.
Thanks, Vivek. Commissioner Damon, Montessori, they, them, District 1. Ooh, that's too close. So this is really exciting to see because I've been learning a lot about the various impacts of aging, polluting appliances in our buildings and the kind of collective impact that has on the city. So to me, this is a really great example of like something that we should be taking the business up on because I think there's always in this line of work a lot of emphasis on the individual carbon footprint and responsibility level of like everyone doing what you can individually, but none of us can do anything about the collective impact of all of this aging infrastructure in homes and buildings that's primarily used to do things like gas furnaces for heating and things like that. We have the better, more efficient technology that is more cost efficient now, and it's getting cheaper and cheaper every year to be able to install that. And so I think one of the things that's noted in the policy briefing there is that this is really not going to be a major, sort of cost burden when building owners usually have to transition these appliances over time anyways. So I just wanted to point out that like it's a really big win-win-win because I think this policy has a lot of tenant disclosure and some knowledge is power sort of elements to it that help people to know what to anticipate for energy costs and then incentivize upgrades that make those costs lower. And then we also have just something that gets at a huge slice of the city's carbon emissions that none of us can individually impact because these are such large buildings, right? So this gets at a slice of the pie that is not currently well supported by the existing programs in the city. And one report that I was looking at from Sierra Club, who I work for, was saying that all of the various homes and buildings gas pollution impact in Multnomah County is about 75% of the nitrogen oxide impact of a single gas-fired thermal power plant. So if you think about it, like this is getting at the invisible power plant that is churning out pollution in our city. So I think it's a really excellent thing to be going after, and it solves for a lot of different things at once.
Wow, super interesting. Thanks, Commissioner Damon. I see Co-Chair Jose.
Yeah, I just want to make a quick comment. I know it's been said, but just as a reminder, July 7th briefing on this is on the website. So you can always go back and watch it as many times you want, rewind, just FYI.
Got it. Thanks for that reminder, Co-Chair Jose. Commissioner Nora, I see your hand up.
Thank you. And thank you so much, Commissioner Vivek and the entire PIC. I haven't heard that acronym before. Is that what we're calling it? PIC?
Yep.
So fun. For all of the, research and analysis and thought that you've already put into this. And thank you for teeing it up well in advance of the vote. Building on what has already been shared, and really appreciate Commissioner Damon, you naming just, all the many different benefits of the HART standards and moving forward with building efficiency and electrification. I think what's really exciting about this one, as you highlighted, Commissioner Vivek, is not just the climate pollution reduction potential and health benefits potential of this policy, but the long history of community work that went into informing the standards, which I think is very, emblematic of what we are trying to achieve as a commission in facilitating that community conversation, understanding impacts to inform solutions. So just really appreciate you calling attention to that history and how we got to this this policy. I think that I appreciate the history too, and how we and what we might learn from in terms of why this policy failed previously, and recognize we're in a different situation, very different government now. I would also suggest that we learn from the statewide experience in passing the Resilient Efficient Building Standard or policy package in 2023 and the Building Performance Standard in terms of the stakeholder conversations and talking points and messages that really resonated and allowed that to overcome opposition in Salem, and success stories that we can tell there as well. So I think, just lessons learned, and look forward to hearing more. And this is a question I have of what is the work beyond just the endorsement, or is there contemplation of, a plan to advance this in terms of, talking points, stakeholder conversations, or is it kind of endorsement first step and then figure out what the rest of the work looks like?
Right. So yeah, that's really helpful, Commissioner Nora. I think that we'd benefit from learning lessons from the state level experience of some of these building standards. So I think that's a follow-up to note. And then in terms of the next steps, I think right now we're just, again, conceptually looking forward to this. I know that the counselor's office is doing a lot of outreach. We actually, in the PIC, had a conversation about reaching out to specific groups and getting feedback, including developers and others who have potentially pushed back on this. So we have already surfaced some of that. And I know the counselor's offices last week on Tuesday had a last week. No, it was actually this week, I think. This week on Tuesday had a community workshop and briefing on this. So there's a lot of opportunities for getting input on this, or there are emerging opportunities for getting input on this. And I think that's kind of out of our, I mean, we can talk to our constituents and the folks we're engaging, though I think the counselor's office is doing far broader outreach on this standard at this point. And I can kind of leave it at that unless there's other things. I know we're running short on time here, so let me quickly, it sounds generally very supportive. So I want to, maybe if we're ready, call a vote here. And I think there are three options that I want to move us forward to. The is affirmative. So you agree with the proposal. Again, in concept, we're going to go back as a PIC. If that vote is affirmative, then the PIC is going to go back and flesh this out a bit more, get briefings from the city, and come back to you with a set of recommendations. Set of recommendations that we'll advance and discuss at the August 20th meeting. And So that's the affirmative. A stand aside, it means essentially that you're affirmative with the stated, but there are some unresolved concerns, and you're willing to let this move forward. And then no is you don't agree or have serious concerns. So if I'm reading the virtual screen here, and reading the room, I guess, is ready for a vote, I'd like to first see how many commissioners raise your virtual hand so we can get a read on this. How many are in the affirmative for conceptually moving this climate and health standard policy forward? This is affirmative. Okay, Elaine, if you could count just so we get it. Okay, we've got thumbs up and some hands, and sometimes both. Okay, great. Okay, getting your hands raised. Cool, thank you.
Please keep your hands up so that staff can calculate
Yep.
log the votes. Thank you.
Okay, and let me move to the stand aside.
Commissioner Vivek, if you don't mind, we do need it more tonight,
Okay.
please, if you
Yep.
don't mind. I will give you a verbal
Okay.
cue when we are ready to move on. Thank you.
Okay.
And Co-Chair Vivek, if you don't mind indicating your Zoom hand as well.
Oh, of course. Oh, yeah.
I'm maybe making an assumption. Pardon me.
Yeah, no, it's good. Thank you.
Okay, staff have recorded all of those votes, so
Okay.
hands may be lowered. Thank you.
Move forward to the stand aside. Anybody who is affirmative with the stated, some unresolved concerns, willing to let it move forward. And I see two hands. Commissioner Nora, is that your hand up for stand aside?
I think my screen is frozen. I'm seeing, yeah, sorry.
Okay, maybe I'm just, okay, good. It's not meant to be up. That's the
Okay.
key part. Okay, I don't see any stand asides. Okay, and then anyone who does not agree or has serious concerns? Okay, great. So conceptually move forward. Thank you, everyone. Next steps, as I mentioned, we've counted the votes. So next steps are August 4th PIC Zoom meeting. You're welcome to join us 1 to 3 p.m. We had a couple of commissioners who aren't on the PIC join us. Great to see you. More than once a month, I will say. And so at that meeting, we're going to draft and endorse endorsement and any recommendations that are associated to it. August 20th, we'll come to the full commission to vote on the final endorsement. We'll get those materials to you prior to that August 20th commission meeting. And then the full code language, just as a reminder, is now available on Councilor Avalos's office. Commissioners can review it ahead of the PIC members will commit to reviewing it ahead of the August 4th PIC meeting. And Elaine sent it to everyone in an email today as well. So you have access to that full code language for it. But again, we voted at least conceptually to endorse it. If there are any specific things you want to talk about, mention, next step would be where we go with that. So with that, yeah, I think that's everything. I'm going to pass it back to Co-Chair Jose at this point. Thanks everyone for indulging in that conversation. It was really helpful to kind of get this out to you and start moving on some things.
Thank you, Co-Chair Vivek. Again, Co-Chair Jose Vivek, Co-Chair of PIC. Now we're gonna move on to understanding more what the CAP work plan would look like and get followed from staff from last month's briefing and any questions you might have had there. So I will pass this on. Next slide, please. CSO Vivian and Lane to provide this briefing for us.
All right, thank you so much, Co-Chair Jose. I do want to know we're running about 20 minutes, a little bit behind, so I'm going to try to catch us up, but thanks for your grace. Appreciate all the feedback and questions. It really helped shape the discussion that we're having today. So those feedback forms are really important. Next slide, please. Today we have follow-up on these main topics here. Just really briefly, we want to allow enough time for free-form discussion and questions. I know it's a challenge. I'd say that we're running behind, but this is important because this is the work that we have ahead of us. So we're going to be discussing, the governance, collaboration, and roles. We're also going to be talking about, we had a lot of questions around commissioner terms and transitions. Also some questions around the 9 focus areas and sort of where they came from. So we have some information about that. Additional work about frameworks, how they were selected and what are they. Some of these actually are going to be a bit of a refresher. And then discuss community engagement with some time for questions and discussion. So that's what we're going to be covering today. Next slide, please. Okay. So coming back to this slide that you've all seen before, that kind of illustrates the different governance roles and collaboration. So just for clarity, implementation of the climate action plan is the city administrator's responsibility. So my role, the role of whomever's in this seat as the chief sustainability officer, is your key conduit as a result. Council is the entity that adopts the plan. They'll be adopting the plan through ordinance. And then the bureaus and different service areas will be implementing the plan. And that's also what the climate justice audit requirement built into as a requirement of this next climate action plan. The executive team's role is to advise me as the project sponsor and executive lead for the climate action plan and provide that cross-service alignment. So they have an important role in offering implementation feasibility as the climate action plan is developed. If, for example, you all made a recommendation that every single neighborhood needed to have its own ice rink for climate resiliency, and we went through all the processes, and then we went up to the executive team and I offered that, they would likely say, hey, we have some concerns about that from various aspects. So I offer that really extreme illustrative example to help offer you a bit of a check and balance and an idea of how I work alongside the executive team at the city in order to sort of vet and share the work that we're doing. That is what we all do for one another. I meet with them weekly and I'm responsible for giving them briefings. So they wouldn't know about that example of an ice rink in every neighborhood unless I told them about it. But that's my responsibility in this role, to bring forthright information, things that like, hey, this may be a flag. And so those conversations are happening on a weekly basis as a city leadership team, executive team rather, excuse me. Regarding interfacing with council commissioners, this is actually where you have a role, and that's going to be the bulk of the conversation that we're going to be having here. And the second half of today's meeting will help illustrate and illuminate what your role is going to be interfacing with our elected leaders as council, but they are the ultimate decision makers in this process. The commission, you all sitting here today, your role is advisory. However, it's substantive. You steer the conversations just like we had here. You vet ideas that come forward. You've all now been a little bit more practiced than you were a few months ago in what it's like to vet ideas. You also will offer prioritization and will recommend goals, policies, and different investments that the city will make. What the commission cannot do is bind council or direct city staff in their work to do work. Adoption and resourcing are solely council's decision, and implementation is the mayor and the city administrator's decision. However, your prioritization, your process in that, and your recommendations does hold weight for those decision makers. This feels like a bit of a refresher because this is a new form of government. So I think it's helpful for us to sort of be clear about, as we're going through this process, what each one of our roles are to have clarity. I did see a number of questions that you all offered in your feedback forms regarding collaboration with other advisory bodies. I'm going to name the one that probably is on the top of your mind, which is the Portland Clean Energy Fund. Just to help illustrate some of the connections that we have built into the climate action plan development, we do have a liaison on staff from the Portland Clean Energy Fund, again, staff, on the core team. And so their role will be to help understand how the climate action plan and their upcoming climate investment plan 2.0 will be aligned as a part of this process. We are still scoping that work from a staff level. From an advisory group level, because of course the fund does have its own advisory body that stewards and their work, much like you do for this. We can foreshadow that there is going to be a joint session likely happening with the PSEF committee over the next 17 months. We will work to help make that happen. As a first step, we're probably going to do something a little bit light, much like when you first all entered into this, or at least original commissioners entered into the Sustainability and Climate Commission. We had some social activity in which we were not allowed to talk about business, and trust that when we get this commission and the Portland Clean Energy Fund advisory body together for a social event, there likely will be a city attorney in presence just to ensure that we do stay on the social and relationship building aspect. But that is something that we are starting to work on already. I also wanted to address Commissioner inquiry regarding climate budgeting. The goal is to integrate climate considerations into the city's regular budget process. And per the climate justice audit, this year's focus, the body of work ahead of us right now, is to focus on research, planning, and making sure we're vetting this work. We actually do have staff that's dedicating their time quite a bit taking a deeper dive on climate budgeting. This work is underway, and there will be a briefing scheduled when the time is ready. And just as a reminder, the mayor recommends the budget and the council adopts it as well. Lastly, I want to address the important work of the Policy and Implementation Committee, the PIC, and the interim policy initiatives as the Climate Action Plan is being developed. The Policy and Implementation Committee will continue its work through the Climate Action Plan development. So thank you to those commissioners who are stepping up, because that is, as you can imagine, quite a bit of additional work. As demonstrated today, the committee develops and brings commission's actions forward. Then the full commission will have an opportunity to weigh in and vote. And then recommendations from this commission will go forward to the appropriate place. So for the example that we just had, that is being led by a council office. So that will go through to council. But I can imagine proposals in which the onus of responsibility is mostly on the administration. And therefore it would be going through a channel that would ensure that the city administrator would have an opportunity to weigh in on that. And then therefore the mayor as well. So it kind of depends on what the topics would be. The one we just heard is a council directed one. Policy and Implementation Committee members serving on focus areas will also carry those priorities into the work groups. And so those two tracks will reinforce one another as well. So again, I know I've mentioned this before, the only sort of overarching caveat I want to offer us all, just as a reminder, is that this is still a form of government that is still maturing. We're still developing it. We don't have all the answers. I will always seek to try to get those responses. But as we're still building many processes as a city, just let's go ahead and ask the questions, but know that sometimes the answers we have to go get, we have to find out. And sometimes it may not be quite clear to us as we're navigating these systems. My goal is to be as candid and transparent as possible on a case-by-case basis with you all. I'm going to go ahead and move to the next slide. There's a request just to do a bit of an additional primer on our city organizational chart. If you need a refresher on this form of government, I'm going to ask Elaine to drop a link to, there's lots of different resources available that help describe and help all of us understand better how this current form of government works. We also had a briefing on this topic, what feels like a long time ago, but early in the formation of the Sustainability and Climate Commission. So currently, and if you can see this on your screens, the Sustainability Office is part of the City Administrator's Office. The way that I talk about my role is that this office is an executive program in the City Administrator's Office. C.A. Lee is my boss. That is the person who is my supervisor. I have weekly meetings with him or a designee, and I'm a part of the city's leadership team, therefore. There are also 4 service areas. You may hear us use terms like service areas and bureaus. There is a distinction between that because there's these broad service areas that are all listed, and each one of those is led by a deputy city administrator who is leading those areas. Underneath those service areas are the listed bureaus that you may be most familiar with. Transportation, for example, or we work really closely with the dedicated staff at the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability. Those folks are all in bureaus who are embedded under these service areas. Let's go ahead and move to the next slide, which is what we wanted to cover. There's a number of questions that you all had about your terms and then the transitions potentially. We've already had some transitions, alternates being called up. Youth commissioners are the ones in which we have the most predictable timeline of transitions of those members. And so I just want to kind of acknowledge the tension. The timeline that we're developing the climate action plan is being driven by a number of things, including we're a member of the C40 cities network. And so we have an obligation by the end of 2027 and to deliver an updated climate action plan. We also have an expectation from Portlanders that will update our climate action plan. We've also, from the climate justice audit, have a number of recommendations that kind of keeps us on the timeline that we're currently working on. So in short, I do not recommend shifting the work plans in order to meet the term limits of this current cohort of commissioners. What we can do, however, and what I'm dedicated to doing, is to manage the transitions of commissioners deliberately. So just as a reminder, by city code, commissioners may serve 2 consecutive terms, and youth commissioners have no limits on reappointments. Well, except for age. If you age out, we can't reappoint you as a youth commissioner. So therefore, the reappointment opportunities will be available while we're developing the climate action plan. We will run a reappointment process just like what the youth commissioners went through this past year. That means the whole kitty. The mayor must reappoint, the council must approve. Commissioners whose terms end in 2027, you're going to hear from staff well in advance to prepare you for that process. You have autonomy about whether or not you wish to be appointed. And of course, we'll be stewarding you through that process. You'll be asked if you want to be reappointed. And then if so, we're going to undergo that mayor and then council confirmation process. Incoming commissioners on board from a complete record. I mean, we spend so much time making sure all the technology, is trying to work, and we spend a lot of time on the processes, and that's important because we have all of that recorded. I think that's a really key component to ensure that commissioners, as they're onboarding, have access to a full library of discussions, can reference things. As staff, we try our best also to continually reference where you can find past discussions in order to try to get up to speed or try to revisit even what the conversation was like. If there is incoming commissioners who are transitioning while we're doing the climate action plan, departing commissioners, we will ensure that there is going to be continuity because there will be no one focus area that will rest on just one commissioner. We'll do our best to have some overlap. But listen, life happens. I understand that things can be chaotic. Best laid plans may always go awry, but hopefully some of the confidence that I'm offering you here and how we're managing any sort of transitions on the commission can help give you a bit of assurance that if you want to be a part of this process all the way through, that you can be. And then what happens afterwards? Are we done? Do we disband? Does the commission go away? Absolutely not. After the climate action plan is adopted, the commission's work then shifts towards implementation, oversight, process evaluation, and the performance metrics work that the new performance office in the city administrator's office will support. So absolutely don't worry that there's going to be a lack of work that this commission will be tasked with after the development of the climate action plan. From here, I'm going to pass it on to Elaine, who is going to discuss more about the focus area questions that you all had.
Thanks, Vivian. For the record, Elaine Vizca Livingstone, she, they pronouns. I'm the Sustainability and Climate Commission Coordinator. There were a lot of questions about the commission focus areas. These are the 9 commission focus areas, and they are set as of today. These are derived from our sources of emissions and community needs that we gleaned from community engagement, such as the Charter Commission reform, engagement that we did to create this body, and then also City Council. A reminder, 3 of these focus areas as part of our climate action plan work plan, we're approaching as cross-cutting focus areas. That was decided by that same community engagement, one-on-ones with each of you commissioners, and conversation with staff to approach those 3 focus areas in that way. In the upcoming slides, we have a short description of each of the focus areas. This was generated by staff subject matter experts and draw from our past climate action plans. I'm going to very quickly go through them. Please write down what focus areas interest you, and we'll have a live poll at the end to scope initial interest. This is not an assignment. This is only a temperature check to see where people's interests lie and where we may have to do some adjustments. Adaptation and resilience is about preparing for climate impacts and creating pathways to quick recoveries. Work here looks like emergency and risk planning, resilience hub, and adapting our infrastructure. If you're drawn to emergency preparedness, public health, or neighborhood level safety, this is likely a work group that would interest you. Our briefing on the climate change risk assessment in September will give all of us, but especially this focus area, a strong technical foundation. Buildings and homes is about making our built environment run on clean energy, use less of it, and stay affordable and comfortable. Work in this focus area looks like electrification, energy retrofits, and building performance standards. This would be a fit for you if you have a background in housing, facilities management, construction, real estate, or energy efficiency, or just care about what decarbonization means for renters and homeowners. Energy and renewables. Where buildings is the demand side, this is the supply side. Getting Portland to 100% clean electricity, supporting community-owned renewables, renewable energy, and reducing overall energy use. Work looks like the clean electricity strategy and grid reliability. This would be a fit for you if you're interested in fuels, utilities, energy systems, or who owns and benefits from the energy transition. Environmental justice and equity is one of our cross-cutting focus areas. This is about how decisions get made and who benefits and who is burdened. This is shifting power to frontline communities, equitable investment in neighborhoods that are hit first and hit hardest. This would be a fit for you if you center transparent and justice-driven processes and bring lived experience into public decision-making. Green workforce and labor is also a cross-cutting focus area. This will build a framework for how CAP implementation results in good jobs, workforce development, labor standards, and contractor and community capacity. Work here connects to workforce investments and just transition planning. This would be a fit for you if you come from labor, workforce development, contracting, or economic development and prosperity. This work group will also need lived experience. Nature-based solutions in healthy habitats is about using nature to manage stormwater, reduce heat, store carbon, and support wildlife. Work looks like the urban canopy, watershed stewardship, and green streets. This would be a fit for you if you're drawn to parks, habitats, water, long-term carbon sequestration, or the outdoor side of climate work. Sustainable material management covers what we buy, build with, and throw away. This is the emissions embedded in materials, food, and goods. Work looks like deconstruction and salvage, sustainable city purchasing, and food waste prevention. This would be a fit for you if you're interested in waste systems, circular economy, food, or procurement. Urban form and transportation, how we move and how the city is shaped. Transit, biking, walking, electric vehicles, freight, and land use patterns. Work looks like reducing vehicle miles traveled, equitable mobility programs, and street design. This would be a fit for you if you care about transit access, safety, or neighborhood and city design. And lastly, but not least, youth empowerment. This is our third cross-cutting focus area, and this is the one with the clearest authorship. This will be youth commissioners and only youth commissioners that make up this group. Our youth commissioners came in with specific concrete priorities: transit access for youth, climate literacy, and turning complex city policy into actionable, measurable steps informed by youth voices. By being used by all other focus areas, the framework that's created by youth, we're investing in youth and intergenerational collaboration. This is another repeat slide from last month. These are the work group sessions you're committing to. Each of the 9 focus areas will meet monthly for 12 months, and each sessions will be about 2 hours long. We'll go through foundation, we'll generate draft actions, we'll go through prioritization, we'll have community engagement, and we'll add deliverables to each session's agenda so everyone knows what the outcome for each session and what done looks like for that. If everything goes absolutely to schedule, we will meet in these work group sessions from October 2026 to September 2027. We've already built in 1 buffer month, so including October 2027. And attendees in these meetings will be staff captains and the commissioners who are serving on that focus area work group session. All work group sessions are virtual, open to the public, and will be recorded. Materials will be posted ahead of time, and you should expect some pre and post work. How are you going to sign up for your focus area? We're not doing that tonight. I will send out a form via email for you to sign up. Staff captains for each focus area are deciding on 3 possible times, just like our meetings are. For an example, could be every 3rd Thursday from 1 to 3 p.m. Most will be during regular working hours, as this is staffed by city staff. We will have you in the form select your top 4 focus areas that you'd like to serve on as part of these work group sessions and indicate your availability on what the staff captains offer. You must be a part of 1 focus area, but you can be a part of as many as you have capacity for. Once everyone responds, staff will send out assignments based upon your top 4 and scheduling needs. We're looking for at least 2 to 3 commissioners per focus area. And if areas end up over or under subscribed, staff will work with you to balance across focus areas. We understand that this is a volunteer commission and real life comes first and things will always come up. I would like to take a collective deep breath. Staff will continue to move work forward. You all will lean on each other and staff for support, and we'll be understanding as your capacity ebbs and flows. We're all human. So with that, I'm going to open the live poll. Again, this is just a temperature check. The poll is open.
This is CSO Vivian. This is, again, for initial scoping only. Think about which focus area work groups interest you.
We can't click.
It's not letting us.
It's not select option.
It's not letting you click.
We're seeing the results.
I'm seeing some people are getting results in.
Yeah, a lot of us can just see the results.
Elaine is different than mine.
Yeah, we're just seeing
Like-
results.
I think some of us are co-hosts of the webinar on Zoom, and so we're probably just seeing the back end of the poll.
Okay, well, we will send out a temperature check in our next email before we send the form.
But just CSO Vivian, sorry about the tech, we're gonna scrap that, but I do want you to think about thoughtfully as you kind of absorb and look over the things, really think about just this is a temperature check, really tells us what focus areas interest you. So just go with your gut here, select all that really speak to you. And also think about how much do you think you'll actually have capacity for? I'm gonna encourage you all to be ambitious, but realistic. So that's my advice to you as you conduct that.
Thank you all for your patience with the tech tonight. I'm going to go ahead and move on. Maybe. Goodness. All right. Frameworks. Again, this is a repeat slide from last month. Frameworks are a set of guidelines and criteria to prioritize and build our climate action plan. We are emphasizing our cross-cutting focus areas, as you can see with the 3 commission-created frameworks. These frameworks were selected in different ways. C40 frameworks we are required to use. Staff core team created frameworks comes from the climate justice audit. And the commission created frameworks, these again are the focus areas that truly apply across all action. And we realize that through one-on-ones with you all, community engagement, and with staff, the climate justice audit, city council, all of these different ways. For prioritization across all of these frameworks, one is not more important than another. The purpose of these multiple frameworks of prioritization is to document how decisions were made and document a community-centered process of how these decisions were made, and ultimately what is going to be a part of the CAP. I'm now going to pass it over to Wing.
Thanks, Elaine. For the record, Wing Grabowski, he or they pronouns. I kind of want to reintroduce myself because you know me in this one very specific role supporting commission, and I'm about to take a hard turn and wear a different hat, however you want to analogize it. So I started with the city in 2004. I brought with me about a decade of experience in community organizing, mostly around environmental and queer matters. The North Star in all of my work is what I call community co-governance, which is making sure that Portlanders impacted by city decisions, policies, and services are brought to the table to help shape those things. I am going to be the community engagement staff lead for the climate action plan development. The core team is already meeting. And we have an official kickoff with the captains and core team together next week. So I want to remind you of the climate justice audit recommendation that the chief engagement officer, who's my boss, and the chief sustainability officer, who's the boss over here, should work with the Sustainability and Climate Commission, it's you all, to develop a community engagement strategy that enables community engagement, especially among frontline communities at all stages of climate action work. So work is underway to create the scaffolding, as I like to call it, for the engagement work that we will all do. So for the commission, we'll send out a form soon to get a sense of your networks and partners in an ecosystem map, as it's called. You may be familiar with this. Who you're all already connected with, what those networks and partners do, and who in communities and partners those networks reach. I think that we have an example of an ecosystem mapping, data equity, that will be dropped in the chat. It gives you an idea of one approach to visualizing this network. I really like visual mapping that helps us get our heads around these very complex, complicated, sometimes very relational things. And then I will present on the form results from the form you'll get at our regular meeting next month. So with regards to staff, one of the first action items for next week's kickoff with the captains and the core team. Again, the captains are the climate action plan liaison staff throughout the city, is to perform a landscape analysis of community engagement that's already been done for each of those focus areas. And so that'll include who they reached, what they were engaged on, when the engagement activities occurred. Lost my bullet. Who did the engagement? So this matters. Was it staff, volunteers, proxy community organizations, et cetera? And what the engagement methods were, which also matters. So was it a survey, one-on-one interviews, work groups, presentations with feedback, et cetera? Regarding who the priority populations are for CAP, this will inform a gap analysis after doing this landscape analysis of who has been reached and importantly, who's missing from those community engagement efforts. It will further inform an engagement strategy and plan for the CAP development process. I do want to acknowledge that this is a large lift for this commission. And I want to go back to the creating scaffolding point of helping with this and a pretty long runway to spring towards a community engagement toolkit that we will all build together. But the gap analysis will also serve as a feasibility assessment, acknowledging the limits of your time, staffing, and budget. And so the final item of note is that captains will synthesize the actual points from the previous community engagement, so the content of what we heard from community, as part of each focus area's group 3, third work group session. And with that, I'll hand it back to CSO Vivian.
On my twing, there's a painful delay in the wireless mic. So we're running about 15 minutes behind schedule. Co-chairs Alma and Jose, what would you like to do at this point?
The question is, what would you all want to do at this point? Do we want to extend the meeting? We're running a little bit longer. If we take our 10-minute break, we'll be like about 20 minutes, 45 minutes behind. Do we want to extend the meeting by that long, or do we want to skip our break and try to shorten everything to fit by 8? Shorten. I saw more knots. Okay, so we're gonna skip the break. Little break is okay, so we'll do like a short 5-minute break. The next section is intensive and requires writing a letter. It might mean that this will yield in homework for everyone. Okay.
That's super helpful. I think in that case, I'll please offer discussion and question points in your feedback forms, and then Co-Chair Jose and Alma, I'll go ahead and just pass it back to you to move on to the next section.
Okay, thank you. So that will take a 5-minute break, get food, if you haven't. Yeah, be back in 5 minutes, but really be back in 5 minutes, not stand around talking while I try to call you back. Okay.
Yes. I just said. Well, that's nice. Really? Two different things. Yeah.
The president is called.
Oh, that's favor. Disregarded. Did you really?
At least, I mean, I guess you're probably used to having to push the kids, you know, being sick and having to still.
No, I did.
But like normally,
Yeah.
you have, I know, it's hard to take sick days,
Oh, the
you
mic's
know,
off.
that's fine. I guess if you have a fever, you know.
Yeah.
can't.
And I. In a room by yourself. What else in the house?
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have a little vacation with yourself in your own.
Yes.
Or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, reading or, yeah.
So, and then after that, I finally got over it, and my son had a trip to. Oh, yeah.
Okay, I don't know, this is on us or.
All those kids. And then you go on to the next one. So, you know, I literally just that around.
Is this something that you've been planning for a long time, or do you get it every so often?
At my work every 6 years. You
Okay.
get 8 months.
You do?
Yes.
It's so nice. Have you taken it before?
Yes, yeah. My September will be 13 years.
Okay. Every 6 years, I hit 7 years. November, and they have been talking about medical policy, but they never. Someone pointing about that for like, I think 6 or 7 years, and I'm gonna see the status, because that would be so. Did you get it paid?
It's just like, it was long enough to start. Maybe
That's great.
yeah, like all the time right before I was ready to go. I'm just, you know, you're just like
Weeks, so like.
I don't know. Think about this. I was like short with people, you know.
Oh, you mean before you took it?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I know, I feel like very, I mean, I have 2 teenagers and it's so, it's hard. It's like, and they're like at critical points.
16-year-old. Well, one's gonna be a junior.
Yeah, I have one that just graduated, one that's gonna be a sophomore. Yeah, tomorrow, so.
Wow, this is too long.
Do you notice a big difference?
Those two are like. Like my daughter is. Okay. Professional. Really organized. She has to be. She dances. She is like. And it's the stress that comes in. They brought. That's smart.
Who's they?
Jose.
Jose.
I'm really worried.
Oh. Well, I just think that's.
Like, I don't find that.
Yeah.
I don't understand why it happens.
Uh-huh.
I can slap stuff down and answer the question. That's like.
I have chocolate in it. What is your actually?
My office. People sort of like walk in, no matter what, the first thing they do is they grab it.
Yeah, I have chocolate there.
And they get me through meetings.
Right.
Yeah.
But then on the other one, just like, you know.
Every other weekend you buy like one huge mega bag size.
Thing is not a single
And like
picture.
Halloween size.
I
At least
do
twice a month
come
you're
to-
buying big bags.
He's completely.
The most important.
But I'm wondering if we could accelerate the district. I'm not quite sure what's supposed to go on.
That's the whole rest of the meeting.
He
is
has ADHD.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, and it's basically us
I think also.
writing a letter.
Well, think about your amphibian talk, if you're doing that, it's kind of exciting.
So we might have to like write it.
Is that your
not do it
background?
To accelerate it, but should we?
That's what I thought.
We're gonna try to end by 8.
Yeah, I can,
Right now, yeah, he really would like, you know, to do like policy and comms there. And he actually did it in one of the,
Okay.
So,
everything that
master's degree is
kind of
basically created this administrative guidebook. No, mine
about
on
organ
his a.
Okay.
for middle grade.
Okay.
And sort of introducing like, for like conservation concepts and.
See how like.
Our-
Yeah.
And like, you know, those little kids.
There's a lot of kids that think it works.
And.
Yeah.
Because it would do the eye check, but it didn't show up.
Showed up.
Eating this and there's.
Great.
Yeah, they illustrate.
And do.
Awards and he has a hard time like.
That at the end, you look and you see, yeah, that's kind of what we talked about. It was really creative, probably 15, 20 years
Okay.
ago. really exciting.
Everyone back, please.
Remember seeing someone do that for the first time.
Yeah.
Okay, we're starting again.
They do that the whole thing for a conference. They enjoy the whole thing that they follow.
Okay, welcome back from break. Next slide, please. Okay. And now we're gonna try to identify what matters most in your district for climate action and begin building a relationship with you, with your district's council office, the staff and the city council as well. And try to socialize this climate action plan, the development work plan. We're gonna work in small groups by districts. Everyone is gonna be assigned a Zoom breakout room, and those in person will move to their district table. So each district table has a laptop, as you will see. Those in person, still, you do not turn on your speakers or microphone. You will listen and speak through the shared laptop. Please take your personal laptops too. Just don't, like I said, don't turn on the speaker stuff on your personal laptop, just from the shared laptop. We have to record all the breakout sessions because public meeting laws. In your group, discuss considerations about your district and draft an email to your district's council offices. We'll have instructions on how to make that a little bit easier. That will include the CAP work plan and an offer to meet with them if necessary. Hopefully they take us up on it. Posted online is the worksheet to facilitate the activity. Elaine will also send us all a Word doc version in the chat that includes contact information for the staff. And also posted online is the CAP work plan version that you send attached to the emails to all the council offices so they have more information. And after this meeting, staff will send out suggested talking points related to that PDF to the counselors and their staff. So they'll be getting a lot of information for us all at once. We have less time than allotted for this, so try to get as much done as you can, but we might have to like designate someone to finish writing it or take notes and transcribe it later. Great, and now we're gonna all get moved to breakout rooms right now, and all of us in person can move to our designated district tables as everything gets transferred over usually as well. Okay, see you there.
Thanks. Yeah, one guy tried to solve it.
Under the corner.
This is my Vanna White moment.
It feels appropriate that we're tucked away over here.
I wasn't gonna say that. I already posted notice. Is Celeste online? Do we know?
Does not look.
I don't think so. Okay, I didn't think I saw her. So this is the big brother.
Yes. Of course, I didn't cough at all day, and then here when I'm trying to talk, it's something in the room. Like, I think it's allergies too, because I didn't have anything all day, and then all of a sudden here I'm coughing. I had the same thing when I walked on, like, oh my goodness. Okay, good. Hey.
Your air quality monitor.
I have a little monitor in my kitchen.
Yeah.
Next to the stove, because I have gas stove.
Yeah.
And I was actually very curious as to how well extractors work. Because gas stoves are really, really bad for you. But they say extractors fix that, and it's true, like it's literally like 6 inches from the stove, and the extractor is on, it doesn't change, and the extractor is not on, it's real bad.
My fan can deal with the stove, but not if the oven's on. Yeah, so, but my stove's fine.
What's an extractor? Is it one of the ones that like sort of like sucks air
No,
or?
well,
I think it's the face.
Suck-
Vent
suck
hood.
it
Got
up.
it,
Yeah.
got it, got it, got it.
I think the ones that pop up don't work as well for that.
Yeah.
No.
True.
Yeah.
Okay.
Part one.
Part one.
Part one. I'm Jessica.
Hello.
She, her, I live in Hazelwood. So kind of close to, right by like East Holiday Park and Glendoveer, which is like a bigger. Yeah. Right.
Yep.
Yep.
Damon, David, I live in Centennial, just north of Powell Butte. And I work with the Sierra Club's Oregon chapter, so I do a lot of professional shit.
I'm Christian, I'm the youth commissioner, so this is only my second meeting. And as of right now, I'm working with the city 12.
I live in Powers Gilbert, but like across the street from because I live like a 120th division.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah, yeah.
I'm right there where like different neighborhoods are in the corner from me, so. Yeah, and House Street, like 47's House Street. Metro Council changes right there, like I'm at the.
But you're
little
like the
corner.
nexus of
Yeah,
a lot of
a lot of
districts.
things,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, we need a note taker, which cannot be me, I do not do that. Email sender, follow-up scheduler, reporter. Does anyone have any desire to do any of those roles?
I'll do anything.
Yeah.
I would not do note taker, is that really bad?
I could try.
Okay, there we go, we have a note taker.
I can be the sender.
Okay.
I can follow up.
Okay, then I'll report.
I can also report.
Okay, can you remind me, Commissioner Stephanie, when the district
So what is the start? I can't step.
So it's very long. When things are loud, I feel like we're supposed to be listening, but maybe not. Let's stop.
I fully messed up.
Yeah.
Oh, it does hear, it totally does pick up what we say.
Yeah.
I was wondering if I wasn't talking loud enough.
No, we're good.
Okay.
It seems as though, I mean, so it sounds like the goal is like to kind of build more relationship with counselors, Dunphy, Smith, Avalos. And also just like sort of uplift what we see as some of the districts.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say, I will let you all do as much of that as possible. I'm friends with her already, like, I know Loretta for like a bajillion million years, you know, she's not the one we're gonna be targeting most of all. I spent the last week with Candace, I meet with Jamie, so I'm friendly with Jamie, I'm more friends with Candace, but I know them, I'm sure you know them. So those of us who haven't had the chance to spend much time should kind of be more forward, just so they get see you as well.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
And so that it's clear that it's from this commission and not from like the Sierra Club, right? Like,
Right. Yeah. Totally. I mean, I feel like okay, so this is like the most exciting thing, right? I don't know. This is I'm like, no, this is why I'm here. I have concerns about our community.
What are they?
I mean, I feel like, yeah, so Canopy, Heat Island, I mean, think about like classic heat dome issues, right? Like everyone's like, it was 117 and like, it was way hotter than that in District 1 in 2020.
The least trees.
Yeah,
like,
less tree, yeah.
Which is funny because they say we have a lot of trees, but because we haven't concentrated on like Powell View.
Yeah.
But we have the least like in the neighborhood.
We have so
Yeah.
many gaps in the canopy. Yeah.
Yeah. I always do the summer tree inspector thing with Friends of Trees, and it's like just all these empty strip, you know, it's like we need this so missing.
Yeah, and it feels like there needs to be a better strategy than just opting into free trees from PSEP.
Yes. Yeah.
Like I did that, some of my neighbors have done that, but it's just No, I don't think that's gonna do it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like you need something more intentional than that.
Yeah.
We're getting that a little bit on 82nd Avenue, which is not quite our district, but
Yeah, I have enough space for one more tree and we're planting it. I have
Yeah.
like 7 trees on my little lot. There's like. Yeah.
right. I mean, like, there's always gonna be some of us who are like the eco nerds who are gonna do all that we can possibly do.
Yeah.
But like people who are not gonna opt in, there's
I
also
believe
three-
very strongly on urban food sources, so all my trees are fruit trees.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, except the ones that were there.
Yeah.
That's
All the ones
awesome.
are fruit trees.
That's awesome.
I think transit, I mean, especially, and just overall transportation, like,
Yeah.
like mobility feels like such an issue. Like, there's so many like weird bike lane situations, especially on major thoroughfares that are wonky. And then I mean, feel like if Celeste were here, she would have a lot to say about industrial.
I think a big thing to touch on is socioeconomic,
Yeah.
because we're the poorest district by a lot.
Yes.
It's not
Median
close.
income of all the
Yep.
other three, except
Yep.
90,000, we're in the 60s.
It's not close. Yeah.
It's not close,
Yeah.
and because of that, people don't have the funds to take care of trees, get
Yeah.
trees for
Exactly.
time.
Yep.
So we need more assistance, right?
Right. And which is why we also need to be doing like larger scale projects too. Like we need to, I think it would make sense to solve the tree canopy issue by trying to find larger stretches of land where we can do bigger projects like the street trees along 82nd Avenue.
The good
Yeah.
thing is, I think this council knows that and hears it.
Yeah.
Because the problem historically has always been that District 1 can't be led. Because District 1 has 3 jobs, 17 kids, and has no time to be loud in downtown,
Right.
really far from their house, right?
Correct.
So at least they're finally realizing.
Yeah, how long does it take me to get down here?
Oh my God, so always.
And it's so bad it's not bad.
Like a minimum 30 minutes.
So, yeah.
Drive it.
Yeah.
And if it's transit, it's like 45 to an
Yeah,
hour.
for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and if you want to get here and like settle, you're like, I'm leaving at 5.
Absolutely. No, and I will say something that's really fascinating is I live right between Powell and Division. And so the difference between the FX2, the like long bus, the express bus versus the 9 on Powell is so profound. So like I do really resonate also with transit reform as something that like I feel
Yeah.
like that one change
The
makes
FX
such a difference.
The FX is faster than the max.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's so good and it's huge. So it means that like there's usually tons of room for people. And so yeah, no, that is I think the future of transit. Like I think that all of the lines need to be like that in the future. Because like we just have such massive transportation corridors. That's another thing that makes our district so unique because we've got like these massive surface roads.
Yeah.
Division, Start, Burnside, et cetera, and then all of the like 122, 138, whatever it is. So it's just like, it's all of that and needs to be more efficient and more friendly. And I don't think just slapping a bike lane on it is gonna work. Those bike lanes terrify
No,
me.
they can't clean them barely. The bollards get like,
It's
and then
full of glass.
and it always just like looks, it's like, it looks like they don't.
You see way less bike ridership in East.
Yes.
in-
Yes.
Absolutely.
And there's a reason for that, and
Yeah.
it's not people
That's
don't
that
want
we're
it.
safe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like I'm a cyclist, I'm like, I
Yeah.
want to the, like there's a thing, like all, the busy crossing, they're like, we'll just throw in a crossing and a rapid flash beacon, and it's like, and rapid flash beacons are either stuck on, so
Mhm.
people just blow through, or they're not working.
Mhm.
It's like, yeah,
I really think that the buses are gonna be one
Yes.
of the most important ways to solve this issue because it's like, that's what also reduces the traffic from being as bad. If you have much more frequent, more reliable bus service. And I know city council agrees with us, like they want that too. It's the state that is really the biggest source.
Well,
of
the problem
problem.
is, if you look at cities that have really successful public transit, like mostly in Europe, they did that by expanding it before it needed to be expanded and by having very consistent,
oh, it's
good.
proactive.
Yes, and then it's like you build it, people go because it is fast. It's there. Here, it's like, oh, we don't have enough ridership, so let's cut so that it's
Right.
not helping.
No, it's not. And especially because because we are such a working class district and because we are such a suburban district too, I think that's like another thing that people need to kind of like, we are so much less compact and like walkable than other districts of the city. And so like with that comes, I think you have to just approach it differently. Like I think it's going to be less about bike lanes and more about rapid bus.
Yeah.
Right. Like I think those are the kinds of things you got to think about it from like what other suburbs out there in American cities have really managed to like become super green and super like, and I think we need to think of it that way because we're just less urban than the rest of the city.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And most people are going into the city work opportunities. Like, I mean, there are some institutions that have been like expanding out to East Portland, and that's great. But like for the most part, like if you're not working at a dispensary or a dive bar, like or a grocery store, you're not working in the neighborhood. Right, exactly.
And they also make it so you have to leave the neighborhood for anything cultural, like
Exactly.
the better restaurant, like there's
Exactly.
good food in our area, but not as much.
But it's not like the like classy
Like-
Portland monthly dining.
Yes,
It's not the best.
Exactly.
because it's also not like like if you go to a special occasion, you want a different kind of restaurant, right? Like we have a really good casual food everywhere,
Right.
but we don't have a lot of nice restaurants.
Yeah.
There's need for something, right?
Right.
We're trying to get more different types of things covered here. Let's also maybe think a little bit about like, I would name like air pollution and industrial facilities
Yeah.
as like sort of other big things that are those like larger intractable issues that are hard for individuals or community groups to be able to tackle alone.
Yeah.
I think also a particularly unique thing, right, to District 1 is like just becoming part of this, the unincorporated Portland, like the
Yes.
hangover from that,
The
and like
hangover from
the like, I mean, there's also a lot of like older and, people who've been here a long time, like my neighborhood, I've got all kinds of people around me who are like, I remember when they promised the sewer or the sidewalk, I mean, it's just like
Yeah.
all of that from the 80s and the 90s, it feels so like there's just no.
Do you know this history? Do you know this like?
Oh, yeah.
No, I don't. So most of a large chunk of East Portland used to just be unincorporated in Multnomah County.
It wasn't
part of Portland, but then I think it was like 1995. It was like recently.
89.
It was
At least, yeah.
Yeah, it was not like a long time ago. It was annexed into the city of Portland because that was sort of deemed to be the sort of simplest way to solve some of the structural issues that people were experiencing there as the city grew bigger.
And so they connected to the sewer systems, so they were like, oh, well, you'll get sidewalk with the sidewalk, and like, that's why there's multiple schools, in Portland Public
school
Schools
districts
is
great.
really what Portland used to be. That's why there's Reynolds, and there's Centennial, and there's David Douglas and Park Rose, because those were all the little unincorporated areas. And that part never got, so there's a lot of people who are like, taxes got raised, the water bill's way higher, I used,
Not
all
getting
these
much for it.
things, and
Yeah.
like, this is still like the experience of being it's like, I'm here, but feels forgotten, feels uncared for, I think. We've never until this district, well, I guess joining her, was the only time we had a previous government model of a representative from East Portland.
Yeah.
In 100 years,
Yeah,
like one or two of them.
yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like all the unique considerations and the issues kind of go hand in hand. Right?
So yeah, I think that just like. I think also that though it's not like I feel like the food desert situation.
Yeah, I think that might be a way to capture the food desert thing and the commuting for work thing all in one. I think it's that we need to be thinking more about building complete neighborhoods in East Portland where there are good quality job opportunities because there's businesses actually like investing and putting roots down in different neighborhoods. And then you have more things like nearby that you can actually like access and make use of and things like that. And like if we have better local parks infrastructure, and that'll also hopefully then also attract more grocery stores who can be like servicing the local community, right? Like that notion of complete neighborhood, like sort of economic development for like walkable bubbles.
Yeah, you're
and
not
things
having
like
to
that.
travel
Exactly.
for every single.
I know.
A high suburban like area, there's not like nearby areas.
Yeah.
It's funny because it does not feel suburban at all, but it has the qualities.
Yeah.
Because when you drive into like Beaverton or something like Castlewood Hills, there's areas there that feel suburban.
Absolutely.
And then, but in East Portland does not feel suburban.
No.
Not to me.
No,
Yeah, at all.
Yeah.
I will think some things to keep in mind when we're writing this letter. One, it shouldn't be super long because they won't read it. And two, they know all these things. So just saying like keywords is enough for them to know exactly.
This is what we've got our eyes on, basically.
So maybe should we think about moving to 2 then? Like I feel like we covered a lot of things, like what are most important. So like I feel like transit, like how you you know, do an FX option on Halsey.
I would think so.
On like Stark, like how, you know, I feel like that could be that hits at the cap.
I think we just need to mention that everything we do with the climate, we should have environmental justice and equity lens on it.
Yeah.
Because that's what we D1 gets forgotten all the time, right?
Yeah.
Because all the bad environmental stuff gets heaped on us and all the good stuff gets not put in.
Right.
Right.
It might be worth saying in this section that, you know, we have so much car traffic and air pollution in District 1, and passing this building standard that we were just been talking about earlier in the meeting would go a long way towards, I think, like eliminating some of the pollution that East Portlanders experience. So that could also be a nexus there.
Yeah. So maybe like we encourage you to support this. It's the right step, and here's some other things.
Yeah, I think so. That's actually like something that's coming up for them. So
Yeah.
And there's a sample letter on the next page.
Yeah.
Because at this right now, we're not asking them to support any specific thing. We're just pointing out these things so that they know it's important to incorporate these things, right?
So are we're also trying to be like, hey, just so you know, like we're the ones, and really like, because isn't the big point like that we're supposed to be with that, like if we're supposed to go to
We
the
hope to.
office, right?
We hope to.
Yeah, this thing.
Yeah, we would welcome the chance
Yeah.
to meet with you and your staff.
And is the intention, Jose, that it is with all three of them, or that we would be like,
Whatever they'd like.
okay,
Because the chances are we might get a meeting with Candace and Jamie, but that might be harder.
yeah.
Around
They're
this
not the
issue.
same office, right?
Oh,
Or,
Candace and Jamie do have an office together.
yeah.
In East Portland, Lourdes is in Nick Fish.
Yeah.
There's at the Monoma something.
I think it's on my place.
Yeah. But yeah, the email should go out from all of us, not from you, but you should sign all their names and copy us.
Yeah.
That does it say that?
This seems pretty formed. Do we want to have the same letter for each counselor, or do we want to say,
I think it's
Or do you
one
want it
email, but it's
to all three of
at
them?
once.
Okay.
I think that's
I
how.
was gonna say, if we were
Yeah.
customized, you know, we might call out for, Counselor Avalos, like for work with them, right? But like, if we're just doing one, that's easier, honestly.
Yeah, no, I think in this case, we don't want to necessarily do that. We just like keep it even and Steven.
Great. Okay, so. So we need to think about, the first paragraph, the specific things that we want to include there, and then there's the third paragraph. That's where I think some of the considerations, the concerns, we throw it there. So what things so far in the last 18 months, perhaps, do we want to acknowledge them for?
We can acknowledge Candace is working hard, even though it hasn't happened yet. We could acknowledge Loretta's work with SIP, with the sidewalks and pavement. I mean, that's infrastructure, right? And it might be nice to point out something Loretta has done.
Yeah.
What is Jamie done? He's council president, so
I like what he has done. This is just sort of like a pet projecty thing, but like I like what he's doing with that Friends of Rocky View group.
Yeah.
It's like trying to
Yeah,
like
that trail.
increase public access. to
Yeah.
Rocky. That's a huge environmental thing in my mind. It's like access to public lands and like access to green spaces, and like being able to open that up would be really like very cool. So
Yeah.
I've been appreciating his visibility on
I know he's also done a lot with like Park Rose grocery, Park Rose grocery outlet, Janie, and helping them change over to Parker's Grocery so that they don't use the grocery store.
Oh, that's amazing.
Is that for sure happening?
I think so. Pretty sure.
The other thing I like about the Roxy is that, and I know this doesn't go exactly to climate, but I feel like it's so needed, is like, it makes it a destination within District One. You know,
Exactly.
like
Yeah.
that, it's like
It's
come
more,
here.
yeah, exactly. It's more like, it would make it more like Powell Butte, because Powell Butte really is a
Yeah.
gem like that.
Yes, yeah.
And we
need
don't,
a
and we
north.
need more of them.
Yeah, we need more of that, like what, yeah, go there.
Mhm.
And I don't know, this is not the place to get into it, but I feel like the Fred Meyer Gateway situation, like that, like was something that, like, that could be.
Gateway is such an opportunity.
It's such an opportunity, like.
We had all these discussions about it, but I know everything takes time.
Yeah.
But I don't know what's happening.
And it's like such a transit hub too. It's like, it's so convenient for so many people.
Yeah, you've got like people like, you could totally make that such a, like, almost like what they're trying to do with the Lloyd Center. They
And
get that
Prosper-
right, like.
There's the fields right next to it, Gateway.
Yeah.
Prosper is making half of them into soccer fields.
Are you guys, is that
David Douglas.
on the David Douglas fields? That's so cool.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Were any of how were our counselors involved in that Prosper project, do you know?
Not a lot. I think they're aware of it.
Okay.
And they wanted it to happen, but they
It
weren't
wasn't
involved a
like,
lot. I think it didn't need a lot of push.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and then.
I did a super anti-environmental thing. I pushed for the plan that cut down the most trees. Only because our school district has no money and they want to build a school there eventually and probably the next bond because our schools are so old. And the plan that cut down the most trees made it easier for us to build, to be cheaper for us to do stuff in the future. And in the future, we'd have to do something like that anyway. So it's like, what if you just have Prosper? You have so much money, just do this work for us now.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I had my David Douglas school board member hat on, and I even
Yeah.
said, like, I feel bad because it's not one the one with the keeping the trees is the one that won.
Oh, really?
It did.
Okay.
It did. Because the other school board member was like, we the trees.
I understand the rationale.
Yeah. Yeah, but
I'm still disappointed.
yeah, it was only 3 trees. But they were
Okay.
big.
There's not a lot of trees.
We don't have a lot to spare. I'm planting 3 trees, Jose.
Yeah. I am planning on
It's
it.
resource.
Thank you.
Okay, so there's time check 7:52. Okay, so okay, what kind of realities, I think, do we want to make sure that we.
That's why I think we could name some of the
70.
subject areas.
Since you're the sender, will you also be crafting the year? And
I
will
do this professionally, right?
great, and you'll have the notes, plus your notes, plus the recording of the
Yeah.
room.
Okay,
So that will make things. easier.
so I should draft it, circulate it.
Yeah.
Well, you'll circulate notes. Have you draft it? Yeah. It's okay.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank
you for doing that.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot of ideas.
It was a good discussion. We should have
Very.
district tables more often.
Coffee.
But it's so much work for staff. They have to like everything.
Oh, everything has
recorded.
to be all online. Yeah, it's gotta be a bit of bear.
Yeah.
Okay, is it appropriate to include, in the 2 or the CC line, like other, like, council staff members?
Yes.
Like, do we have that in the?
Yes, back page.
Oh, thank you, sorry, I
Yes.
did not.
We have all their stuff.
I had not scrolled. Okay.
And it's funny when I first saw this, because I saw this a few days ago. Like the staff changes so often, and I'm like, who?
Yeah.
What? She's like, yeah, that was enough today. I'm like, oh, good, I'm not that far behind. But yes.
Oh, yeah, like you can test it by saying like, okay, Councilor Maria, Chief of Staff. that
Yeah.
Changed over recently.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also Counselor Dan Ryan's chief of staff
Yeah.
was Kesha.
So for the main categories that you guys wanted to cover, what would that exactly? Because so far I have like transport, also like traffic, food desert,
I think air pollution was another one.
Yeah.
Heat islands, or the heat island effects. Patchy tree canopy.
I think that can make this real.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Yeah, I know if Celeste were here, she would build it on air pollution. I felt it. That's probably, yes.
So I think I'll categorize all the guys' notes into like sections, like. So like heat island pollution.
That's good.
So heat island pollution.
I'm glad all of us were here because
Yeah.
when one person's virtual and everyone else is in person, it's so like.
The much more difficult conversation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I get, a hybrid is great for accessibility, but it also makes it things different.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right. How long ish do you think you'll want to wrap up and send notes, circulate?
Right. I could probably just. All that.
They don't have to be super pretty.
Yeah, it's for us only. It's not going into any record.
Just ideas to like refresh your mind.
Yeah.
Absolutely right. Yeah, you don't need to, I would say you don't even need to clean them up. You can probably just send them out as they are.
And then how will they distribute this to us?
That will be posted on the website.
Oh, right.
I don't know how fast, but
Okay.
it will.
Okay.
It might already. Well, no, it's streaming somewhere right now. So they're recording it. You see.
Cool. Well, how about, I'll look at those notes and we'll try to look at a draft next week.
Okay.
And everyone can
Yeah.
weigh in and.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can get it out next week, and if not,
Yeah.
that thing within
That
the
seems
next.
good. I'm gonna make sure.
Okay.
That sounds awesome. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so what's follow up with commission stuff? Oh, okay, so Jose, I'll just follow up. We have something on the books.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Okay. And then. So presumably we'll hear back from hopefully we hear back from our counselor staff. They make some suggestions.
Yep.
And you'll help with like coordinating the times that work amongst us.
I think that's right.
Is that what it works? It was, oh, 23 seconds. Thumbs up.
Hands up.
Anything.
So productive.
Nice work, everybody.
Yeah.
I did feel very productive.
And to get everybody's emails.
You have a city account, right?
Yeah.
It populates just right.
Yeah, you start
our
typing.
names and.
Well, that's well done, well done. Yeah, yeah. It's good. This is like up over. Right? It's a little while. I don't know that I don't know what. Here he is. Then it's sort of the everyone can see everybody.
I'm happy to be note taker in any case.
Great, let's skip part one.
Okay. Number 2. Discuss district considerations. All right, should we do that?
Yes.
Yeah. What are unique geographic, socioeconomic, and community considerations for your district? Think heat exposure, tree canopy, flood risk, housing stock, transit, access, industrial areas, language communities, displacement.
The district has really diverse housing, diverse housing stock. Got industrial, commercial buildings. I feel like it does. I mean, it seems north, northeast.
I feel like it neighbors the very much industrial area, like all of that. We also don't have, there are parks, but I feel like we don't have a lot of tree canopies in general. Just thinking about the greenways and overall, there are some trees, but not as much.
Our parks are smaller. Right, Laurelhurst is.
Like Alberta or.
Urban garden.
Actually, can you pull up the map? I looked at it yesterday and I was like, it's not as what I thought it was. Because when I think of our district, maybe it's just where I live, so it'd be good to hear everyone's perspective.
That'd be helpful, wherever people live.
I do feel like there's a lot of tree, so maybe it's different story.
The neighborhood.
I'm in the Vernon, by Alberta.
Okay.
Maybe that's like the skin.
I'm by Urban Park, Urban Park. It's a big park there, but we're also, noticing there are a lot of other stuff as well.
Yeah.
Way.
That's true.
A lot of Lloyd Center.
Yeah, I live near the Lloyd Center. Got more tree canopy than farther out east, where I think it gets sparse.
I think our boundary use is like 80 seconds.
Sorry, Galen. We're just trying to look up the boundary. Where do you
Yeah,
live?
that's okay. I'm in Piedmont, so right by Peninsula Park.
You've been Piedmont, is here. My Peninsula Park.
Mhm.
I'm right off of, I'm like between King, Woodlawn, and I'm working on it.
Stuff I see her.
It's a pretty diverse district. The footprint goes up by the river and goes very industrial for a while. University of Portland is in the district, right?
Which one?
Is University of Portland in the district or no?
I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we go all the way out to St. John's and
Yeah,
Kelly
so
Point and all that.
Park and all that, yeah.
All right, there's green spaces.
So the rest.
Take it back.
Depends on our cruise. To me, I think that comes with the industrial areas. I don't know to what extent is like, it's because I don't know. I know that at least Portland in particular, side of our district, has a lot of issues with air pollution. So I don't know what that's.
We do have the Columbia Boulevard
Exactly.
stretch, which is really industrial, but it's trucking all the time, as a parity.
Amazon.
Yeah, a lot of.
And also the recycling plant that's on there. Yeah. It is.
Yeah.
Well,
Sure.
kind of.
82nd, after days, the airport, that's the 82nd.
Just the north. Yeah, I think another thing that comes up for me, just experientially, not necessarily for myself, but something I've observed, is just displacement pressures are extreme in the district. Yeah, like I've lived in, I mean, I left and came back, but I was like raised in the same house that I live in now, and seeing the change over like 20 some years, like an extreme transformation, like the population. I went to Jeff, and like even Jeff is changing in terms of population, so people are certainly being pushed.
Probably have the highest gentrification in the city, I think. Feels like it.
So I think there's like a lot of displacement that has happened and continues to happen. And for me, I feel like our apartment, like housing stock was pretty low compared to some other districts. So I don't feel like a lot of young people can move to your district. There's just not a lot of spaces for young people.
Good point. The other point is there has been development of like smaller apartments and townhomes, but they don't have parking structures, which ends up taking over.
Well, Vancouver.
Yeah.
There's many apartment buildings built there with zero parking. Yeah, it's like it does look.
Interesting to consider with the center redevelopment.
Yeah, that's an opportunity.
In motion, but yeah.
That's a huge footprint. What is that, like 34 acres or something like that? Like that, it's a huge footprint.
A lot of it sits, there's parking availability now, but it sits empty and because it's a little apart from the residential.
Yeah.
No, it's converting into residential.
Thing that's unique about our district, I feel, is that there's definitely a lack of see connectivity between North Portland. This is, yeah, like St. John's about it, district and.
North is set off, and you probably feel that going up by Peninsula Park. North definitely feels set off from the rest of Northeast.
Yeah, I mean, even I'm right on the border in North Portland here, but even to drive from Kenton to St. John's is like a 15-minute drive with like no traffic. St. John's and Portsmouth and all that is just so far removed. I think the other thing that's unique is even though it's not in our district, the critical energy infrastructure hub is right across the river from them. And in the Northwest district, that's relatively far from like more housing, whereas it's right across the river from St. John's. I think that's another unique factor. And the other one that I think about is the Swan Island like Superfund site that's going on. So it's kind of like we're almost surrounded on three sides by infrastructure, industrial in some way.
And I think like one of the primary ways to get between just the two, like north and northeast, is really just by car. And you have to go through the industrial areas to get there. I just think that's something unique about it. That's a good point of literally all those hazardous. Okay. Should we kind of build on that? What are the most, I see you guys. That's but we'll just continue. And what are the most important issues for your district? I'm curious to hear. To me, I would say it's like what I mentioned before is like gentrification and affordability.
Affordable housing, the lack of affordable housing, really just pushing people out of that of the inner Portland and northeast, quickly pushing people out. The density, we're not building large apartments, they're affordable. Not a affordable place.
Oh yeah.
Forcing people to live farther out and travel. Yeah.
And with that is the transit access piece. So even living so close to the airport, taking the maps, it's like an hour commute to just get to Northeast Portland. So having, I guess, multimodal options to be able to access the airport or just other parts of North Portland. We do have nice bike paths, but also it's not always well maintained, or there'll be obstruction with some of the areas and it's not the safest.
But
I know there's been route cuts near where I live, pretty significant. It's, yeah.
the same but at the same time, it's like it's critical for everybody.
I think also the district, we have opportunity with the Albina project and the Lloyd Center are two big things that hopefully there's a lot of future potential to what those could be. And they could transform into housing and accountability into a lot of community issues. They're both big, unknowns and what ifs, but they're in our district and they're huge footprints, both of them impactful.
Advice and economic development too.
And the Lotus Center, well, absolutely.
So much
that goes with the Albina. Right?
Yeah.
It's kind of connected to that whole Albina Lotus Center, and Lloyd Center. It's incredible.
Just wanted to check in with our Zoom members, if you had anything you wanted to.
We're on part 2, question 2.
I think another interesting thing, just coming back to the connectivity to North Portland, is, it takes a while to get out to St. John's and all those places, but also the main road to get there is state owned, which just makes things really complicated because Lombard is Highway 30. And so it's under ODOT jurisdiction, not PBOT. And so it just makes it really difficult if we just can't throw Max line in there, right? And so I think that's another unique consideration with getting people out to St. John's and that out there.
Are there, so it sounds like there's like housing, affordability, and then connectivity. And then also, I think the point about Superfund site and the
Industrial, you know, pollution created by these major industrial areas kind of impacts the nearest neighborhoods directly. What's being done to address how those operate.
Yeah, I think those are definitely top issues. Is there anything else?
I'm just doing a quick Google at what emergency preparedness. This area is one of the most, it has unique geographic vulnerabilities. Just thinking about the Cascadia earthquake. Yes, Cascadia.
It's largely low lying, except for it's low lying.
Just something to think about. I was just looking to see if there's anything that we might have not.
I feel like they were like, oh, I want to finish at 8. Part three.
Email if you're just pick one person in your group to send an email. Are you up for helping turn this into an email?
I
love it.
Do we know if we can like share notes on this outside of the meeting, or is it something we should ask?
Public record, public meeting.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's start with some drafting points then. I'm happy to send something.
Basically, they've given us the template, and we're supposed to add in basically just a couple of sentences about our district specific considerations for part 1. So what we've just talked about, our goal is to craft a couple sentences to speak to in District 2. We're concerned about these issues. I think that's kind of all that's missing from this.
Yeah, that's up. I didn't even get to this.
Yeah.
So that's good.
The template has 98% of it.
Okay.
Yeah. I think
He's gonna read it out loud. We are commissioners, X, Y, and Z, and we serve on the city's Sustainability and Climate Commission representing District 2. Thank you for your service to our district and your work on behalf of our communities. Okay. The commission is currently reviewing the work plan for Portland's next climate action plan, which will guide the city's climate work over the coming years. The attached work plan outlines the process and timeline for the plan's development and potential city council touch points. As we begin the work plan, we want to make sure District 2's realities are reflected, including a chance to meet with you or your staff to walk through the work plan and give you the priorities for the district. Let us know what works we're having them do. Okay, so we just need those main.
yes. So I think they kind of summarize those concerns that we've laid out into a couple sentences of talks about we're concerned about something like this, industrial, you know, they can be, I think it can be several sentences.
It can even be bullet.
It can be bullet points. These are concerns, and that's a great way to do it.
Yeah.
Higher readability. The point for it.
So the first thing that came up was lack of affordable housing, which was pushing people out, being already brought my car there at the same time as public transit is being used. Okay, I have the general idea, but we could wordsmith it. I don't know what to emphasize.
I think lack of affordable housing stock could be a bullet point. That is a concern. We don't have enough affordable housing.
You feel that it's necessary to like clarify for them how it connects to climate?
Yeah, I do think we should have a climate tie or why it might impact.
Lack of affordable housing stock, which forces people to live farther from
Where
they may need to live, farther from their communities or their job and schools. It forces people.
I think there could be something about the housing stock that is here, like the houses and things are one of those frontline communities that hasn't seen an investment. And so I don't know the exact data on this, but they're probably less likely to have like access to cooling or AC. And so it's like something about the quality of the housing that is here currently also needs to be upgraded to be more resilient. Maybe that's a good way to tie it into climate action plan.
Yeah. Yes, and especially in the midst of heating.
Yeah.
Like the thing that.
Yeah.
Down, the older housing stock, less likely that we have AC or heat.
One thing I just want to pull for you guys real quick, is there's a Portland heat map, and it looks like northeast and east has higher temperature. So that's just something to consider as we're
I wonder how much is due to some of the industrial power.
probably a lot,
Oh,
especially by the highway.
and Vivek, is that why? I know you studied this quite a bit, so is that why Northeast Portland by the river has so much, the heat map is so much higher as a spine going up the river?
Yeah, for sure. It definitely has. I mean, you have the airport, you have Columbia Boulevard, Lombard Boulevard, all that going out from basically it's 205, Hazelwood, like Centennial neighborhoods, like far northeast out, and then coming through Cully. And it's this, call it the arc of heat. It basically kind of bends around that way. And I know I just talked to Senator Merkley 2 days ago, and he lives out in Hazelwood, and he was, we spent an hour together walking around, and he was talking about that exact thing in Northeast Portland, the changes he's seen in his life, of how much warmer it feels, in part because background temperatures are going up, but also because the kind of development that's happening is driving some of those increases in temperature. Yeah. While I'm talking, I just quickly will also note that this area of Portland also has Pacific Power. It's not PGE. It's a different utility, and they're far less deep in Oregon, and they tend to be far more Intermountain West, and they have broad range and there's a swoop that comes into Northeast Portland, and I think I was just looking at they have they have some programs, but I think they're a little bit less driven by renewables, and a lot of the kind of like stuff that we're talking about per se maybe than PGE. So there's a potential receptivity, and I know they were fined a lot of money recently by a lawsuit for the 2020 fires, and so there's like some concern. I don't know. There's a concern about like the energy side of things when it comes to Northeast Portland, and the fragility maybe of the substations and the distribution network. So you could pour a lot of heat pumps and a lot of AC out into Northeast Portland, but whether utility grid can actually sustain that, given how little of a presence Pacific Power has in Oregon, has in Northeast in this area, and it's a question, I guess, more than anything else.
That's a great point. So maybe we could frame that as one of our concerns is about the capabilities of Pacific Power in relation to its grid and substations, in relation to its infrastructure.
Right. I don't.
That's one of the bullet point considerations. It's a great.
Yeah.
Is it wise to follow the utilities into this, given that they're regulated outside of?
They have to, without them making changes, we're never going to make our goals. Like we need them whether they're with us or not. Like they have to be. So I don't know that we want to criticize them, but I think point out that it's just more of a fact is that they have an aging infrastructure and need to be invested in to become more sustainable and move away from renewables if we're going to meet their climate goals. I think I don't want to call them out, but I want to point out the facts.
Yeah. And I agree. Like I think one of the things we've heard is that that's been the toughest thing to push forward and to help us meet our renewable goals. So I think the more we bring attention to it and letting our council members know, they can at least speak to it in a way that's educated.
Yeah, I feel like that point, if we could develop it a bit together, just I feel like I wouldn't be like developing that.
Yeah. So Vivek, can you help with sort of how we would frame like a bullet point around like the importance to our district of the power infrastructure?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I mean, my read, I'm a Pacific Power resident, as I think most of you are as well. So it's like I've tried to work with them a little bit here and there, and they're a very defensive posture when it comes to like adapting. They like I've talked to them about undergrounding overhead lines and things like that. And you know that there's money potentially on the table. That's what Merkley and I were talking about. And it just like very opposed, like we don't want to change anything. And whereas I talk to PGE folks that are like, oh yeah, please, if there's money on the table, we'd be happy to kind of go forward. And I just got such a different vibe read from executives at two of the different power companies that I don't know. I just have my own sense of like, yeah, I'd be happy to put together. So yeah, in short, yeah, I'd be happy to put together something around like what the role, maybe
some kind of wordsmith right now, like a bullet point to speak to that, maybe one sentence or so.
Yeah,
And
I can see like a basic frame so that I could, because only one person will send the letter.
I think we'll have the opportunity to do that if no too.
So I think.
So what would be what's the main statement? Is it a recognition of the utility, the unique role the Pacific Power Utility plays in Northeast Portland District 2, and what implications that has for us to do like climate action planning work?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you could say that. It just says to insert. It says, as we begin the work plan, we want to make sure District 2's realities are reflected, including, and then we have to insert specific district considerations. And we're thinking just putting bullet points. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it could be something, I don't know, as simple as making sure that District 2 has the appropriate infrastructure to convert to an all-electric, like as we begin electrifying more things, essentially.
Yeah, I like that.
Away from renewable sources, move toward renewable sources.
That's like, what?
This group wordsmithing is fantastic.
Okay, I think that's okay.
As we transition towards clean energy.
Say,
yeah,
have the infrastructure to do it.
Yeah.
Good.
Yep, that's good. I'll put together. Yeah, I can put a sentence. Yeah, that sounds good.
And then I just want to return to, we kind of started talking about concentrated industrial development and increasing temperatures.
And pollution.
So that's a concern about the ongoing pollution and footprint of these major industrial employers without driving them away.
Yeah.
We don't want to put in sort of controls and regulations and changes that drive them away and cause economic pain either as well. So that's a concern.
I think it's more around having the right regulations to help these manufacturers or these companies to do business in a way that is considering community and climate to reduce the overall harm. And I think with that too, it could be a potential solution, but not really going into solutioning, but like what are some things that we can do to sequester some of this carbon or mitigate the pollution as part of the climate action plan.
So just a little nuance there. We actually looked at this. The majority of large industrial polluters in Portland are located along that Columbia River corridor, and it's partly for historical reasons, and it goes down into the Willamette River. And so just, I mean, those are big polluters, right? That's like, those are manufacturers. There's like the Owens Brockaway over in Cully. There's like these huge that have been fined multiple times by DEQ for emissions violations. And so there's that whole side of things that I don't know how to tie into the climate. I mean, there's ways that I guess you could tie it into climate, but I don't know exactly how. Because those are like the cadmium, the chrome 5, like the lead, like these are the big heavy metal pollutants, like the air toxics as they're generally called, that are being polluted. But that's outside of the like quote climate. Like that might be more of a public health and like other things. But the climate side is a little bit, they're big manufacturers, so they are generating a lot of CO2. and greenhouse gases, but there's a different angle to them that they're trying to deal with too, right? Right. So just trying to think about how to like play with that.
Right. Well, to Elena's point, maybe it's a bit of sort of suggesting the need for sort of more mitigation or abatement or things like that, or ways to consider the impact on residents, to the impact on neighbors. And we're not trying to we're not going to regulate these businesses. It's more about the impact on the people living around there. And that's what we'd like the city councilors to think about and take into consideration.
Exactly. And our waterways and our green spaces, like it's all things to do.
Yeah.
Is it a separate point to bring up like this critical energy infrastructure hub and the Superfund site, or you feel like that kind of fits under industrial, like concentrated industrial development?
I think the super fund is kind of captured in that. Critical energy infrastructure feels a little bit different, but because it's not technically in our district, maybe, I don't know. It's just like the threat of it.
I think it's legitimate. I mean, ultimately, if there were some type of like catastrophic event, the outcome would be that our district and everyone else, but people like, would be affected. So I think it's a legitimate concern, even though
It could be something about how, because we are surrounded by the two rivers and we don't have any resilient bridges, we don't have the connectivity for any kind of natural disaster, whether that be the big one or a critical infrastructure hub or something like that. We're kind of on a peninsula out here.
Okay.
Breakout room ends in 15 seconds.
One thing I want to make sure we capture is transit access or something around there.
Okay.
Is there anything else that you guys have before we disappear?
Our simple points,
Bullet points, got big bullets.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Let me make sure I set that up right. Yes.
Okay. Are we all here? Or does anybody?
know.
Oh, I think Commissioner Kaza. Is this true?
I only see 4 participants listed, which include the breakout room. So it looks like it's just us.
Yeah, Commissioner, I don't think you are. Oh, the breakout room?
Oh, I'm not. I'll join. But I think you were wondering, weren't we wondering if any virtual should join?
Yeah, but waiting room has been, maybe.
Can I add that?
I think that's,
I don't know if he's.
the waiting room maybe for the meeting overall.
Overall.
Everything's automatic. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh.
so it's just us.
Which is great, which makes it easier. I don't technically actually love this paper, I just go so.
Okay. We have to. We're writing to each of our representatives or council, or just picking one, or what is it?
Yeah, so we're writing one letter to all of like District 3 specific representatives. And Elaine put a new suggested timing so that we can accelerate it a little bit, which includes skipping part 1, which is introducing yourselves and choosing like roles. We're probably gonna have to finish the letter asynchronously, so it's coming up. But yeah, we're basically thinking about what's important to our district specifically, what's unique about it, and what are the most important issues to our district, our part of Portland specifically. And then we're gonna draft an email to the counselors with that.
and talking about.
Are we actually sending this letter?
I believe so. And I thought I read that somewhere, are we picking who's gonna lead that, or is it just gonna be like? Yeah, that's what I thought. Not for so much to skip roles, but every time was one group to send me, yeah, one person in your group to send me.
And there's emails of everyone.
So.
And then there's also a template email.
Yeah, who knows the people in our district?
The councilors?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know them well, but I know who they are. I mean, follow them. Yeah. I think Councilor Murillo,
I don't know her.
Lane.
I know Tiffany really well. She taught both my kids.
Oh, really?
I know her very well.
Nice.
But yeah, and I've known Steve Novick for I don't know, 14 years. 15, no, 15 years. I don't know. You probably know him, maybe like Tiffany. I know very well, but Steve, I off and on. Probably you have to. 'Cause he's been around or something.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of was on a hiatus.
Yes, he was.
For a while. So I don't know him as well. I feel like I know. Oh, hi, Stephanie. You made it.
Hi.
Can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can. I'm glad to be
Okay,
in.
we're
Thanks.
gonna just turn this volume up. All right. You haven't missed much, Commissioner Stephanie. We were just discussing our city councilors and who has relationships with whom. And beginning to discuss roles. So welcome.
I got to get back to our worksheet and let me find that and then I'll be on board with everybody.
But we aren't supposed to talk about it. I had to look at the map again today of our district to refresh myself and prep. And I was like, it's actually really, I think, hard to say what the district needs are because Laurelhurst,
Yeah, so I can visualize that right there.
Laurelhurst needs are gonna be very different than anything down here and anything up in Rose City Park. So like we have part of the district that is like tree canopy galore,
Right.
then wealth,
I agree. Those are considered impacted communities to prioritize.
exactly, that's my
Yeah.
point, like just saying what the
Yeah.
district needs are, it kind of,
Yeah.
it's, I don't feel like there is a district need, it's depends on where in the district we're talking.
Right. And I'm just like right in that little like middle part. So
Where do you go to school?
I can't Cleveland.
At Cleveland, okay.
And there's like weird rectangle that's added to District 4 is where I live. But like I
Got
feel like I can't even like visualize what the north part, what there is there.
It's Rose City. It's Rose City. This part I don't know about. The most southern part. Stephanie, I know you can't see this map we're looking at. It's just the district map.
No,
the
but
southern
I
part-
could, one thing I could say is we could pick some of these and say the range, like tree canopy. Yes, there's a diversity of canopy, but even where there is a lot of trees, there's a lot of homeowner responsibility that people can't afford, and the trees are not being cared for, the street trees by the city. So there's issues around trees or not trees, I would guess, in every neighborhood. It isn't just a matter of did you stick one in the ground? It's how do you sustain it over time? So there might be some other topics like that where we can say this is the range of things we're concerned about that cover quite a bit in the district. And that's just an example, the trees.
I think building decarbs would be across because it's older housing stock in the
Yes.
entire district. No matter what, the housing stock is quite a bit older. Like Sunnyside, most of the houses are built around 1900. It's one of the older neighborhoods in the east side. So residential building decarb would be big. There's a little bit of there's a little bit of industrial. But building would be for sure across the whole district, just from age of buildings.
I just consider that in my own house, like a big C or energy efficient.
Yeah.
I live next to 82nd and I've seen, some, pollution in general. Yeah. Like rain that kind of lead to flooding in a way, like, I see things overflowing there a lot. I don't know if it's just my area specific, I live in 92nd.
So that's why I feel like it's an issue for the entire district.
Or it's just.
The closer you are to the to the river, the more services have already been provided. So there's already been a lot of stormwater infrastructure bill, bioswale bill. The farther closer you get to 82nd or beyond 82nd, almost gone. So inequality across the district about what kind of services have already been.
Well, this is
There's
another good,
bioswales everywhere, right?
yeah. It's another good example, though, that even if the service is there, it doesn't mean it's all functional. So I live in a neighborhood where the services are there, but if people don't unplug the drains or
Yes,
keep
me
up
too.
their lawns or whatever, there's a lot of not inequity, but incapacity to actually support the infrastructure that exists. So whether that's a requirement for more education or more city staff or more homeowner education, I'm not sure, but just because it's there doesn't mean it's working.
I think when it comes to the climate action plan, really thinking about, right, the sectors that we're focused on and both mitigation and adaptation. We've named a few that I think, I mean, I agree are important. Building electrification and efficiency, important for existing housing stock, but also neighborhoods in our district are where we're seeing a lot of multifamily or affordable housing complexes come in. Yeah, I'm also close to 82nd on 70th and Gleason. There's a lot just in my neighborhood.
Yes.
So how are we supporting folks who are moving into those complexes and accessing resilient and electric homes that will save them money and help them stay in those buildings over time? I think transit access to, right, like it's just, yeah, the farther out that you get in this district, and especially even, I mean, 82nd is hard, but like once you get to like deeper southeast, like that is also very inaccessible.
Yeah, I always feel like in transportation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
In the city in general, if you look at public transportation, we do a good job of going out to the center, but north-south transportation. Across the, across the east side is almost non-existent.
No, it's.
So if you need to go north-south, you almost forget it. You have to drive or two, or take an hour and a half that you don't really necessarily have. Right? So again, there's just these inequalities across the district about depending on where you live.
And safety too.
So yeah,
I think like as we're talking about these differences in equity across the district, I think that in our letter, we should focus on like the most vulnerable communities, the parts of the district that are facing these issues the most, because I think that'll ultimately be most impactful. Like you were saying, there's a lot of resources already closer to the river. And so I think we should focus on
Agreed, and I think we haven't talked about like the constituents within our district too, and what that means to help address those inequities. But like we have a really big Vietnamese population, a lot of Hispanic speakers when we're thinking about addressing lack of transit access or like tree canopy. How are we making sure that as those services or like incentives we can available, so we're thinking about reaching those communities that are not English speakers as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and south of Woodstock.
So Eastmoreland and Selwood are in District 4. And
yeah, they carved those out.
No, I do have a question. We are writing an email to send to the counselors to help engage the community to see what matters for them, or present like, hey, we think that this is what, is in need for our area. That part I wasn't putting on it. Reach out to say,
So like, we're representatives for the community, but there's gonna be opportunities to reach out to people.
Yeah, but I mean, read the draft of the letter, I think that helps, but it's suggested draft, right? We want to make sure the District 3's realities are reflected, including, and then we can list some of the things, like inequality across the district.
Yeah.
It's not really okay that like rural Hurston, Sunnyside, whatever, have all of these things already built in, and the farther out you go, there's less and less. There's work already in progress, like if you look at what's going on 82nd Avenue with PSEC funding to address.
Adding the middle
And trees. There's not that there's no work, but there was definitely historic inequalities on aggregate.
Yeah.
If I, sorry, it's kind of hard to jump in from out here, but something that we might want to highlight, it's different, but the Southeast has had very strong neighborhood associations for a long time, and coordinated by Southeast Uplift. And so there's been localized representation opportunities that can be springboard places for some of this. And we don't really know what council's doing with the reorganization around neighborhoods, but we could say that this is something we support, both for emergency response and for strengthening governance and for working with inequities. You use that existing structure because they've been unevenly supported and had uneven participation, but where they're strong, like Sunnyside, I mean, it's amazing what they've been able to get done, but it varies very tremendously. So that just a thought that it's nice to reinforce the parts of city government that were in the old government that might still be functional for climate work.
Yes, thank you.
What were some of our other buckets for the workshops that are coming, work groups? So we had buildings, resilience.
Workforce, clean energy.
Yeah.
Transportation.
Transportation is definitely, as we brought that
Environmental
up.
justice.
I mean, the renewable ones, I don't see it as like a district specific.
I mean, like, yeah.
Like it's like a citywide need to me, or a grid-wide need. It's not really like a.
I mean, I think there's inevitably going to be overlap between the needs of the different districts.
Totally, but I was just like how that fits in specifically to district needs or district. I have a struggle on that.
I think it's just affordability, and making sure, like, recognizing our city climate goals are contingent on the ability to achieve our big climate goals.
Yeah, and that's broader.
Community-based renewable energy projects, versus, local. Distributed energy resources. To me, that's all about like local community resilience that should relate to
any district. It's not specific to us. That's what I was thinking.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the way that I am reading this exercise, it's like in part just an opportunity to educate about these folks that the climate action plan is under development. Remind them of like the impact and direct intersections with our communities in District 3. And like offer the opportunity to meet and connect with them. But there's not any like ask, right? It's basically like, here's, we all come from different parts of District 3. We bring our like understanding based on the communities that we like live and work in.
Experience
and we
in the district.
Yeah, and we, but we don't have the full picture, and we'd love to learn from you as our representation. Like, who do you hear from? Who else should we connect to? It's more of like a
It's an intro.
It's an introduction. Nobody's gonna hold on to this like.
We probably don't need more than the 3 or 4 things we've already today.
Yeah.
That's
So we have expanding tree canopy and like natural spaces to other parts of the district. That was one that I feel like I heard from the beginning. And then transportation, accessibility,
building, electrification.
And affordability, was that one? Or
Yeah, I mean, I like the overarching framing of like there's real inequities in how our communities in District 3 are experiencing climate impacts and, you know, access to solutions. In some parts of our district, we're experiencing extreme heat due to lack of tree canopy, extreme pollution or lack of access to transportation. It's, yeah.
I do think extreme heat is one of the most important ones, because District 3 is home to like the hottest part, like out on 87, like that is the worst part of the world for like. Yeah, heat down. So, I think that one's really important.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, well, I think we're getting close on time. Do we want to assign? Does anyone want to introduce or sorry, volunteer to?
I can email. We get us stuff. I'm happy if somebody else wants to do it, but I'm also happy to send emails.
Okay,
that's great.
And so I feel like this template email is pretty good, and it's really just like a matter of concern. But maybe if you want to like send us a draft email for us to approve before we send it.
Oh, yeah, we're not. I was assuming we're having joint, like I'm not just gonna write an email and say it.
No, it's okay.
Like,
You can put the discussion in part 2, but we can draft this now.
Yeah, if we have a few minutes, I can try.
Yeah, Laura's very good at wordsmithing. We work together on
opposite side of my red line. Wish everybody
very good.
I should know citizen.
It sure looks to me like you could just take their example and change a few words and you'd have a pretty good email. So I wouldn't work at it too hard.
Oh, yes, we don't need to.
Yeah.
This on the meeting agenda webpage?
Yes.
Okay.
The district representation outreach.
You know, even if you can use personal phone number, but obviously I can't.
It's really important that we know it.
I cannot.
No, and it was like, I know who they are, like the names, and you're like,
Can't violate those names. Official.
But that's good, I think, then that would be.
He was a great third grade teacher.
That's really.
And you know, she taught at the environmental school.
So,
yeah.
Oh, which one?
She taught at Sunnyside Environmental School.
Oh, nice. Little connection.
Yes. So she does know, general environmental justice very well. She had to teach that first. I went in once with a infrared gun into the class and taught them a class on renewables and on energy efficiency, and let all the kids shoot the infrared gun around to see where it was like leaking.
That's so cool. I feel that, you know, any idea.
So, you know, can we, through this process, just have a Google Doc that we all share to like, or do we, I don't know, if we can. Because that's the easiest way.
Right.
Yeah.
So like comment.
Yeah.
I would also say, I don't think this needs to be a huge thing. So
100%.
I'm just working right now in an email, so I could send a draft. We can get as far as we can. So what I'm focusing on is just this third paragraph as we begin the work plan. You know, we want to make sure District 3's realities are reflected, top of mind for us based on our experience in the neighborhoods we live and work in, our heat exposure. Heat exposure, lack of access to transportation. Affordable, reliable transportation.
Yeah. Okay. I was about to say maybe affordable.
Yeah.
And maybe convenient in terms of like not having to walk down hill to get to the bus.
Affordable, reliable, accessible transportation.
It's fine if you happen to live on Division, if you wanna go down.
Yeah.
Right, then you're there.
Building electrification. Who's old housing stock?
Yeah, aging. Housing, infrastructure and,
Building electrification also deals with heat.
yeah, so aging, housing, infrastructure and lack of access to, it's again like affordable, technologies or whether like home efficiency upgrades that protect folks from extreme heat. Aging home access.
And then the overarching thing still is the lack of equity across the district.
Yeah.
Or equitable access to the district. It's just so obvious. Parts of our district don't have like, parts when you go out a little bit where it's dirt road.
Oh my gosh, my neighborhood is like gravel. It's like roadways will not be improved.
Yes.
I mean, like my street is paved, but
like easily come to a road. It's not like an alley,
Yeah.
it's the road and it's like. Other than Sunnyside.
We are particularly concerned that these impacts and needs are not felt like equally across community members in our district. Or felt
Disproportionately, right, in some neighborhoods, and there's a lack of amenities. Yeah. I could guess that it's. I don't know. I would assume I would send it to each counselor with their staff or separate. So it's 3 emails.
I think that would be fine, but I also think that the intention was to do it all into one email, because you also have to copy all of the district commissioners, and then also the SSP.
Yeah, but it would be weird.
I agree.
It's 3 emails.
Yeah.
Because there's staff.
We don't want a joint meeting.
No, we don't. We want individual meetings with each counselor.
Does that make sense to you, Commissioner Stephanie?
Yeah, and I just see that the other next steps we're supposed to be in charge of is who's going to schedule time with these commissioners and who will report back to staff. So we need some other rules to be followed. Although I guess if we just get the email out, that's a good start.
Yeah, let's get the email out and then all of us will be copied, right? I'll copy all of us. And then we'll see what they say. What the schedule is when they're available, because I'm assuming they're gonna meet with them. I'm assuming they're gonna say yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so you want me to ask?
Oh, thank you.
Sorry. You have to turn it on.
Okay, so we need to send out the email So you're gonna send out the email.
Laura's gonna finish whatever,
You're
she-
gonna
and
finish
send it to all of us to review.
Okay.
And then
Good.
once we've all, everyone's agreed that we like the sign, I'll send 3.
That sounds good. And then we should decide who follows up on the email in response to scheduled time and who reports.
I can follow up on the scheduler. Great. Or either, actually, either, or if you have preference.
Or whoever ends up in the meeting. If you didn't
Yeah.
go to the meeting.
Yeah.
It's like like, I'm assuming any of us could go, but maybe it happens at a time you can't.
I think it'd be good if at least 2 people go to whoever, don't leave anybody alone.
Yeah, I
In
agree. We should
scheduling.
try.
Yeah.
Yeah, to get at least 2 of us for meeting. We could all go if it works, but. Oh, they're kicking us out.
Oh, okay.
Are you sent to us?
No, I haven't sent you yet. I just need to pull up your emails.
I just lost my access to my email. Couldn't have to.
Should be having someone join online.
And they all found one another. Excellent. Excellent. Good, how are you? Hey, District 4. Yeah. All right.
What else?
I guess we can just jump into the quick introduction. Sue's where, Commissioner Sue's where, she, her pronouns. I have my connection to a different board, so that I lived there for 4 years, live extremely close to it, and I've been working volunteer. You go, Dana Visi, she, her pronouns. I live in District 4. And I work, yeah, I work in, I guess, District 3, but I live in District 4.
Okay, and so I live in District 4. Huh?
Bonus points.
Bonus
Yeah.
points, that's right.
Must work from home.
Yeah, I work from home, so.
I'm Shiv Narayan. I use him pronouns, and I've lived in District 4 all my life.
Well.
All the points.
You can have my points. Yes.
How about you, Sky?
Hey, I'm alternate Sky Dancy. I work in District 4. I actually live down in Lake Oswego. So, no points for me.
Half a point.
Okay, half a point.
Revocable point.
I'm happy to take on the note taker.
Okay, great. You could do illustration as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So I admit to be a little unclear on the concept here. And my instinct is just to jump to what we think ought to be is most important to be in the cap, except I'm not quite sure if that's something that we can write or where it fits. 1 to 2 sentences about the cap work plan, okay? And 1 to 2 sentences about your district specific considerations in part 1.
I think, or maybe it starts in part 2.
I think looking at these questions, like what are unique geographic, socioeconomic, and community considerations for your districts? That might help illuminate what those different priorities could be.
Yeah.
I think one thing that's challenging about our district is that it's on both sides of the river. And so like I live on the east side and I'm in that sliver that's connected to
I am working on it.
the other side of the river. And so it's kind of like a one neighborhood that in Bellwood and Smallland area, and then most of everything else is all on the west side.
Right.
And there's very different considerations and kind of neighborhoods, and so I think that is one, like the geographic nature of it is a challenge with like those, I think the community, like, for example, the tree canopy on the west side of the river is extensive, rather than the east side, so
But the Selwood Moreland area is pretty extensive.
it's pretty
right?
good, yeah.
I mean,
It's-
in many ways, it is the northeast and north
Yeah.
that has the really distinctive consideration that the rest of us do not share. And other than that, I think, our primary our concerns are consistent across the districts. They're buildings and transportation. I mean, there are other things, but the two big ones are building, the energy use, and transportation.
And we also have the CEI hub, like that's primarily in the district, it would have impact.
Which?
The CEI hub, the critical energy infrastructure hub along the limb with all that
right.
other thing. As far
Yeah.
as like
Yeah.
disaster preparedness and what that would impact
Yeah.
logically, access to power, like multiple of the, categories we're looking at. That's a big one.
Yeah, that's huge, yeah.
The,
And policies too that both prevent what kinds of fuels come into. Like renewable diesel, for example, is like a big part of like the decarbonization transition, but there's a lot of concern about even allowing that, and it has sort of the city wants, or there's gonna be, we have a renewable fuel standard, but there's some conflict between what the standards is and like supply and more access with ports and citizens not wanting to bring in more fuel. That it's like that, so I think that is a big, plus the safety issue.
AD Forest Park is our district, and like if that goes up in flames, like that's pretty much the worst thing ever.
Yes.
Yeah, there's the
Yeah.
date of that bill, obviously it's a really big benefit there, but there's a lot of
And also like all the discussions about PGE with like putting
power lines,
kind of go through Forest Park.
And Linton needing more access to electricity too, like it's like Linton is kind of part of the district as well, right? It's kind of like.
Is Lincoln shy of electricity supply?
Well, one of the arguments from PG, I'm not sure that it's the extent of its validity, but PG has really said that if something doesn't change within the next few years, let's start having outages, which is one reason they're pushing. But I don't know how transparent that is at stake.
There's also downtown and this inner city kind of affordability, transportation, congestion pricing, sort of like economic development and above with some of the policies. And
On Southwest, access to the transportation is not very good. Like, I lived in Zone Landing for a long time. And there was some, but then like if one bus line went down, it was like we weren't going anywhere. Selwood has some of the same.
That's true. This is one, like they've been cutting a lot of service over the last couple of years, so.
West Side transit transportation is always going to be deficient just because of the way the language is.
Yeah.
It's, and it's hard.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
It's really hard to run a bus line, and I mean, none of them pay, but the ones on the west side pay a whole lot less than the ones on the east side. They're cost more to run, and they have lower ridership.
Yeah.
And that's further complicated by the fact that the big payers of the payroll tax are on the west side. And they're always saying, we're not getting, our people aren't getting service, even though many of their employees, came over from the east side. So it's the transit issue on the west side is it's complex and, it really is not something that we're getting.
I want to make sure we hear from Scott.
Yeah.
Josh?
I don't-
Yeah.
Yeah, especially since you've lived all your life.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You should have some opinions.
I lived there for the past 10 years, but Officer 4. Sorry, I'm
And what neighborhood are you in? Or what area?
Forest Park. Yeah.
So where, as far as parks.
Oh yeah. You know where the elementary school is?
Skyline or?
Yeah, around Skyline. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're off Skyline Drive?
Yeah, around there. Yeah, pretty close to there. Yeah.
What do you think about? We don't have a lot of access to transit up there.
Oh, it's not at all. I think if you live there, you need a car to get anywhere. Like when I first came here, my mom didn't know how to drive, and she was kind of stuck in the house for so long because she couldn't drive anywhere. It's a pretty walkable neighborhood, but if you want to leave outside, it's a big struggle. I've seen around there's like some Forest Park transport buses. But I think those are very limited to where you can actually go.
Just go to like the park entrance.
Exactly, yeah. So it's not too accessible or too useful if you want to leave.
And walkable is probably just within residential.
Yeah,
Yeah. Like there's no, you're not walking to any commercial.
No, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
We're not gonna amp up transit service. I mean, you have a transit agency right now, where the ridership has cratered from COVID and has not rebuilt again. And, it was pretty tenuous before COVID. There were real limits to how far you could extend it. So
some of the reasons like why people don't take transit is either it's not convenient, they don't feel safe, it's not reliable in the same way. I think that most of them like sometimes it says it's gonna be there in 5 minutes and it takes 30 minutes. That literally happened to me when trying to get to a meeting. Yeah. And so I think that at least in some of the studies that like at least Metro looking at transit, it's more investment is needed to be able to make it more viable, but unfortunately, like too, there's been decreasing in spending, more spending, increasing services, but it's not the solution to try to make transit.
And all to be blunt about it, if we're looking at transit as institutions, then you have to go where the densities are that can support things that are not on the west side.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
You're looking at like Division Street with the fast, like the BRT, so you're trying to.
I do think that there's some transportation things we could do on the east side that would both extend transportation services to for it's pretty tenuous right now. But I honestly can't think of a way to do the same thing on the west side. Not because we don't want to, but because it's.
So are you talking about more the residential areas of the west side? Because you also have downtown,
Yeah,
and.
the downtown's pretty well served by transit. That's where everything comes together.
So I don't want to interrupt, but our
Yeah.
time is kind of limited. Is there anything else you think, like you
Yeah.
noticed, like from where you are and then go to Sky maybe?
No, that's it for me. Just the transportation.
And transportation.
Yeah.
Access to transportation.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
What do you say?
I don't know if you heard me nodding vigorously over here, but I do think the transportation is absolutely a challenge for our district. And I also think just the shape of our district is such a challenge, right? Because we're covering everything from, as you pointed, the industrial section up on Yeon and the potential environmental disasters that could come from a lack of resilience there, but all the way down to, Southwest and Barber. Right, in terms of getting people downtown and around. So.
Another thing
Does that mean?
There you go. Perfect. One of the things with mentioning the southwest area, like the southwest hills, is definitely at risk for landslides. Like that's something that has been mapped out in
We want to make sure.
environmental surveys. It's like things can happen. Especially with earthquake.
Well, yeah. With a potential interruption to transportation. That.
Landslide would be pretty bad.
Yes, well, and also as you get more rain,
Yeah.
you need more flooding, and then more mudslides and floods, dust, so, yeah. As our next question, like, what are the most important issues for your district?
We've identified a bunch of things. We're going to reverse to sky and. Okay.
What do you think, Sky, if you were to pare it down and prioritize, what do you think the most important issues are?
I feel like we've talked about many of them, but if I were going to pick on one, I think it's, well, two. I can't do one. I would say it's improved transit and environmental resilience.
I think I agree. I also think transportation is a big one. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of think about transportation without thinking about land use. They interact with each other. So it is well, transportation and population densities. And trying to pull those things together. So that each one of them supports the other.
Yeah, I think that kind of gets to this livability generally. I think all those things are kind of connected where your transportation and your kind of perception, I think downtown's suffered from sort of perception too. And if you have a healthy downtown, you have a healthy city. And that then I think is good for any kind of climate work or just kind of perception of the city and people's comfort level going into downtown, taking transportation, being in, I think if they're all, it's all very connected, so I would probably call it like maybe just the facility. And one thing we haven't brought up that I think is an issue, I don't know where this would fall with the cap, but there's a lot of leases that are all throughout downtown that are all going to be coming out in the next couple of years. They're office buildings, and because of so many people that are now working from home, a lot of these spaces are going to become more vacant, and the cost to try to change office spaces to residential is it's very expensive, but it's really, you need, if you want to have healthy downtowns, you need to have people. And if you have empty vacant buildings, which is going to become, I think, an issue for all downtowns in Portland, but especially I think in the problem that's going to be coming up in the next couple of years for Portland, because a lot of these uses are coming up in that six, as that. So in order to convert to residential, you need incentives, you need to have funding sources, like if you're gonna, it's not gonna happen through the market. So I think that's where maybe this kind of action plan, you could combine it with things like low carbon materials and like green workforce and solar, you know, different ways to kind of, I think, change a lot of these buildings around. So I would prioritize that, and then I think the resilience piece around the forest and also the hubs, with the fuel hubs is gonna be.
One small part of the building using that I would just add, which we may have already captured it, but I'm thinking about all of the homes in Westwood. Like there's so many homes that have been there forever, as well as in like Bellwood area and stuff like that's one of the things those areas have the most in common is how many are like homes from like the 20s to 60s that are there that need so many climate upgrades, like retrofitting and like gas furnace, all those things, and trying to get people to a place where they can.
Yeah, heat pumps and, yeah.
We can lump a lot of that under electrification, you know, which also means displacement gas. The gas utility will like to hear that. They're fighting a rear guard action, and we have to make sure that, you know, we push them into a much faster rear guard action than building them first. But it's electrification plus efficiency for those, especially when you get to retrofitting. Old buildings are more expensive to do both of those things too than brand new buildings and new subdivisions.
Yeah, who bears that cost? Yeah.
And how can we incentivize them? You know, would say that electrification and transportation, you know, is It's, I think it is easier than with the buildings, but it's still gonna be challenging, especially in rental neighborhoods. And shifting from gasoline and diesel to electric vehicles. There are significant costs in plugging your car at home, and those folks are so.
I mean, middle, like, yeah, most people, except for like upper class, get like, the cost to get a new electric car is like more than for like the vast majority of cars.
Yeah, the cost of getting the car is coming down pretty dramatically, you know, and it would come down even faster if you had a different president. But equally the cost of home charging can be pretty forbidding, especially if you've got an old breaker box that's small and you have to add to it and you have to run the line and it gets really expensive to do home charging. And there are a lot of community charging stations could be deployed and you're not doing very much of that. But there are a few, lamp post rechargers. We go to England every early fall for some classes. We walk around and you can plug in anywhere on the street.
It is beautiful.
Yeah, it is pretty nice. We can't do that here. So utilities
Right away.
in the public right away. Yes, and maybe have just the spaces underneath those chargers, limited just to electric vehicles. Charge electric vehicles. There's lots of things you can do outside of space. So.
Okay. I think, well, I think we need to start talking about drafting an email to our counselors, and so our counselors are Zimmerman, Olivia Clark, and Mitch Green. And Mitch Green, in his I think is very strong climate advocate. And I think I haven't seen any materials that have come to my house from Mitch Green, but I have seen materials that have come from Zimmerman and from Olivia Clark. And climate was not mentioned. And there wasn't anything in there related to really any of what we talked about. So it's mostly focused on safety, crime, affordability, probably infrastructure.
It's a little odd, given that District 4 is probably, a stronger hotbed of people who care about climate than districts 1 through 3.
Well, there's certainly, it's a very wealthy district here in comparison, so there's more opportunity and access for folks. But I guess okay, we're looking at an email like this, just based on our things that we shared just then, I kind of have, number one, I mean, not actually in any specific order, but our transit difficulties in terms of access, reliability, and usage, our climate resiliency, investment, usage, and yes, I think
interaction with transition plans.
Spread,
if you can.
And then, climate resiliency, which also includes climate disaster risk. So that would be I think we should specifically state the CEI. I think we should specifically state the risk that Forest Park and the Southwest Coast are in terms of fires, landslides, and then considering power outages. I know when I lived in Southwest, over the past year, I started having power outages where I live, at least once a month, but would last for multiple hours. Yeah.
Where is that?
Yeah, I lived in John's Landing. It was very. Yeah, there was I was at a show at one of the neighborhoods at one of the restaurants. All the neighbors had moved down there because it was an outage. It was and it was going to be for over a day or something. And it was very common. And they're and they would go to this little bar that was their public. Or it was right by The LF. Oh, okay, yeah, spot, but yeah, like people have to find places, like a, well, I guess that's like, I guess that wouldn't be, that would probably be district three, that section, but still, like, it was pretty common that they had these neighborhoods that. Yeah.
Every month.
It was
More or
very
less. So it's not
consistent,
just-
had to have a lot of candles and
bad-
lamps charged,
Yeah,
and like.
not just
Yeah.
bad winter weather.
No, it happened in the spring, it happened, yeah.
And that was, it wasn't a planned outage, it was like, it was just an outage. Okay, because they're doing a lot of planned ones as well.
Like, okay, at least.
But I think, but it's not that sometimes they're, well, it's not a role they, okay, I'm thinking of something.
Yeah.
But you had like more just like, that's just like, because you have dead trees.
And the third category thing would be just managing the connections between this. So I think the varied geographies and sort of the, well, industrial and residential building upgrades and electrification. Maybe that's a better way to
Yes.
just say that, because connections between neighborhoods can be in the transit.
And efficiency.
Do you think it's better to call it electrification or decarbonization?
Oh, I would go ahead and call it electrification, and then it's more likely to create hives and certain
Well, I'll show you.
utilities, but that's really what we're talking about. Yeah, we're talking about shifting out of direct combustion of and direct combustion gas.
Yeah, that the decarbonization, that renewable diesel, like, and that piece is kind of, I don't know if that's a brand one, but that is a kind of a big deal. With that, with the,
Is it a big deal in industrial Northwest? I don't know.
which part? Or it's more like the public's.
My understanding.
There's just like the city's renewable standard is at odds with what the community wants. The new doesn't want more fuel coming in, periods. And
None of the tanks are retrofitted for earthquakes. Like,
Yeah.
they're literally built to, the ones that do have retrofitting are built to the wrong standard of the kind of event that we would have, and a lot of them aren't retrofitted at all. So literally, if something happens, it would wipe out like the highway there, it would wipe out, like, it's.
So yeah, electrification ultimately means you can bring those stations strong.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not because they serve a much bigger geographic area, but.
Well, you could put them somewhere label at least. You
Yeah.
could put them somewhere that won't go.
like for medium and heavy duty transportation, it's easier.
Counselor.
That's what they will say.
Yeah.
So that's why you need the renewable diesel, because it's like 65% cleaner than, right, petroleum diesel. But you have to, you gotta get it into your port to be able to have access to it, and that's where the.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of it comes from corn stock.
None of, well.
Some oil.
Yeah.
It did, and maybe it doesn't anymore, but it did.
It can't come from in Oregon because it is requirements, it can't be grown for food. It has to be a post-consumer material. So it's like used cooking oils or tallow. Thankfully, or it can't be palm oil. Here's especially make sure that is as well.
So, and at least when I actually had this discussion with a mayor before he was mayor. As he,
Yeah.
yeah, he was a big proponent of renewable diesel, but he understood that it was a bridge to electrification.
Yes.
And he didn't want to burn renewable diesel any longer than did.
Yeah.
So
It's
ultimately,
totally, and I think that's also something like climate activists have, there's like neighborhood complaint, there's organizations that they rumble on the radio, and they don't, want any kind of, or they're not the support of renewable diesel, but from a standpoint of like the transition. It's kind of critical to have access if you're gonna to the possible decarbonization, because you're not gonna get, you don't want 10 years of medium and heavy duty transportation burning. That can be burning.
I think what we need to know is how those.
Did you all see the 2-minute warning?
Oh, 2-minute warning, okay. Well, I have these, so I have these categories written out based on our notes. And I don't know how detailed you would want to be in an email like this, so I think the buckets are helpful and we can mention those specific things.
So are we sending this right away or are we? I'm unclear on the timing.
There were options for either one.
Yeah.
I would be okay, like drafting something and sending it to y'all, or if you wanna draft it and share it.
Well, we can work on it together. Yeah, and then.
Okay.
And we can share it to our group,
And then,
yeah.
and then email too.
Thoughts?
Scott, did you have other thoughts? No?
Nope. Nope. It's a little bit hard to hear. Sorry, everybody, but
Yeah.
no, I think you're on the right track.
Okay.
We'll send it out and any notes you have on it would be amazing. And is there like a digital doc that do we have like a working doc to?
I think Elaine was supposed to send one. A what? A digital doc.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know
It's a digital.
Oh, it's not.
The visual doc.
Yeah, well, it's okay, true enough. No, that clears that up. I mean, thank you, David. Seriously. All these years.
I was just, I mean, did you notice that about our counselors though, like what their focus is and?
You know,
Hi, everyone. Oh, so you guys can stay where you are in the breakout room tables. And we're just gonna end the meeting from here. So if your district hasn't finalized your email, please do that outside of the meeting and work it out amongst yourselves how you're gonna deal with that. Make sure to fill out the meeting feedback form that Elaine will send in the Zoom chat right now. Next slide, please. We have a couple reminders before we go. So the next regular meeting is August 20th, and we'll have an informational briefing about the CEI Hub and to discuss our community engagement ecosystem map. And then the September meeting was rescheduled to September 23rd and is virtual only. We'll have a briefing on the climate change risk assessment, and the policy and implementation committee will bring their climate and health standard endorsement to the full commission to vote on. And as a reminder, please look out in your emails for focus area work group scheduling and assignment form, community engagement mapping questionnaire, responses from your district's council offices, suggested talking points from staff to go along with the CAP work plan we shared with the council offices. And then please feel free to reach out to co-chair Jose or myself or any staff for any questions or support. I know this might have been a little bit of a confusing process, but thank you all for coming and for collaborating. And that concludes our meeting tonight.